All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's that time of the week for the live stream. I know you've all been waiting on the edge of your seat for this one. Here we are. Finally made it. All right, so, what's going on? John S, aka JS. Well, that makes everything way less confusing now. John Smith, you in the house? We got 3 people. Whoever's here, if you want to say hey, shout out in the chat. Come one, come all. I'm tired, man. I've been tired. We'll do the small talk while we wait for people to show up, and just kind of, if you got something you need to drop in the chat, have at it. Hey, Blue Sky, what's up? Tired. Wow. So Monday, the exercise routine, I was starting to feel like last year about this time, April-ish, March, April, I was riding my bicycle about 250 miles a week to go back and forth to that job at the bakery, and it was wearing me down. But it really didn't, my body didn't completely fall apart from all of the cycling until around late August, September. That's when I really started to feel completely shot. And so for the last, I'm on week 6 now of a pretty hardcore gym workout routine where I decided to ease up on the cycling and just do a wider variety of stuff to try and lose weight, get in shape. My goal for the year is to lose weight. It's not to reach any, specific number of miles or anything like that. And so I've been doing this gym routine, pretty tough workout schedule for 5 weeks. I'm on week 6 now. And Monday, I rode my bicycle to that bakery, 25 miles each way, did, 8 hours on my feet. Doing all the stock, the heavy lifting part, it wasn't that bad this week. And I felt pretty good. I felt really good in the morning. I did a 7-mile hike on Friday, and then I didn't do anything physical Saturday and Sunday. Had a lot of sore. I know on the members only live stream, I was talking about having really sore shoulders and arms, of which I'm still kind of feeling that. I must have done some serious arm and shoulder workouts last week because I'm still feeling it. And it's Wednesday, so it's almost a week after the fact, and I'm still feeling it. But Monday, when I came home from the bicycle riding, I felt great. I came home, I felt pretty good. I sat down, I ate a little something, watched some of the Star Wars marathon that I've been working on since it was like June of last year is when I started watching all of that stuff. And so I'm still on that. And all of a sudden, I went to get out of my chair, and I was just like, oh, the rigor mortis of the post-workout fatigue. And so I went to bed early Monday night. And so yesterday I woke up, jumped into a Zoom meeting like I do every Tuesday morning with this one client. Got couple of things done, but by noon, my whole body was just shot to the point where I was falling asleep in my chair here, and I was like, I decided to go. I'm like, oh, I'll go take a little power nap. And that turned into me sleeping. I fell asleep, just laid down in my bed and was instantly asleep at noon. Slept all the way until about 6:30 in the evening. I was like, wow. So, and my body, oh my God, my body felt so awful. And so I went and took an Epsom salt bath. And so with that, I'll put a cup, 2 to 3 cups of Epsom salt, a cup of baking soda, some eucalyptus oil. I'll burn some incense. I'll bring camera tripod with a clamp for a phone, and just so that I can watch videos on YouTube while I sit in the tub, because it'll help me stay in the tub longer. I do the same thing at the gym with the sauna and the hot tub. I'll put something on that I can listen to and just time how long I'm sitting in the sauna, because I kind of like want to get it the whole I want to get like a whole half hour of each when I'm done working out. So I did that yesterday, sat in the tub for like 45 minutes, and as soon as I got out of the tub, my whole body was just like, ugh. I went back to bed. So I was up for an hour, took a bath, went back to bed, woke up at like 11:30, hungry. So I went and grabbed a couple sandwiches, sat down, watched a little more stuff, and then I went right back to bed like an hour later. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't. A complete waste of a day. Complete waste of a day. And when I woke up today, I definitely felt a lot better. Something about that bike ride, something about just my body just said, too much. You've done too much. I'm forcing you to go relax it out. Um, I haven't felt this run down since when I got my car in September. I was at the point with the bicycle that a 5 mile ride was kicking my ass. Even though I've grown accustomed to going on 100-mile rides, 250 miles a week, 400 give or take per month. All of a sudden 5 mile rides were kicking my ass, and just I was completely run down. After I got the car, I put the bicycle away for 2 whole months. I didn't do any exercise at all for 2 months. And I slowly recovered from how I was feeling Monday or Tuesday. Yesterday, I felt like that level of burnout. So, woo, I couldn't go to the gym. I made up my mind by like 10 in the morning to not go to the gym yesterday. Just take the day off. I feel better today, but I've been sitting in my chair all day doing work. I did not waste the day today, but I'm achy and I'm tired to the point where as soon as I'm off the live stream today, I'm going to go do another Epsom salt bath and just soak in the tub again, because I think that helped. The salts, the magnesium salts help relax your whole body and help with whatever toxins that your muscles are holding on to and all that. So I'll be fine probably by the time I go back to the gym tomorrow. I'm not going to skip tomorrow, but definitely needed a day off of everything. Monday I had a little bit. JS, you're asking about the foot pain. Had a little bit of the foot pain creep in on Monday's bicycle rides, but not at the level it was last summer. It's more like, I don't know if the thing that kind of sucks is these bicycle shoes that I have a lot of life left in them. They're mountain bike shoes, and I've only been riding road bicycle rides. So the shoes are in really good condition, but there was a problem with them. And so Giro sent me a brand new pair of shoes. So I have 2 pair of these. One are completely brand new, the same size. And I don't know if shoe sizes are so weird that, like, I just bought a pair of New Balance. My sneakers, I had a pair of Hoka's, and the tread was worn down to the point where the soft foam was poking through. So I had to get a new pair of shoes, and I got a pair of decent New Balance low riders for pretty good price. And the size range that I actually met, because I bought them on Amazon, so I wanted to measure my foot properly and see what the size range would be for me. And there's such a wide range of shoe sizes that work for you. Shoe sizes are kind of like I think if you stick with the same brand and the same shoe over and over and do it like 3 times, you can dial in the exact size shoe that's right for you. I think these New Balance might be a half size too small, but they didn't feel bad either. I mean, I went on a hike, a 7-mile hike was the first thing I did with those shoes to break them in, and they felt fine. They felt better than the Hokas that I replaced with them. I don't know how long they're going to last. They don't have the I wanted to get Keen hiking boots, but I didn't have that kind of loot. Plus I wanted to get black ones that I could wear to the bakery if I ever want to wear those. And but I definitely need to get a set of the Keen hiking boots that I always wear, because I know they'll last more than, depending on how often I'm wearing them, I'll get 1 to 2 years out of them before I replace them. And even when I replace them, they'll still be good enough to keep around for another 4 years as, you know, shit kickers that you don't worry. If you're going to go out and play in some nasty mud, throw on the old ones, or something like that. You're going to go out and mow the lawn or go out and do something that's going to trash your shoes. They're still good for that. I used to replace those every year in the spring when REI would give me a discount, but I don't shop there anymore. But I had like 6 pair of those exact same boots lined up in my mudroom year after year. You could tell how old they were. Like, I could line them up in the mudroom according to age, and just looking at them, you knew which ones were the oldest. But I would keep those things for like 5, 6 years, and they would still be good enough to go out and do like yard work and stuff like that, just to keep the newest pair that I've bought from wearing out prematurely. And so I don't know. I'm still keeping those Hokas because they're like, I'll still be able to use them for like crap like that, or an extra pair of kicks to keep in the car or something like that, for like an emergency or something, where you need an extra pair of shoes or something. But um definitely the Hokas weren't going to last a few more 7-mile hikes. Those things were going to be done. So I had to do something. But same with the bicycle shoes. It's kind of like I could go down in size, but then maybe they'll be too tight. So it's just, I don't know, but the pain in my toes gets on my nerves when it flares up, and there really isn't much I can do about it. When I'm at spinning class at the gym, they don't really flare up. Occasionally, and it's kind of like it's not the same foot. Sometimes it's the right foot, sometimes it's the left. I don't know. It's just one of these things that I'm not 100% sure what to do about it yet. But it's probably a shoe size or a shoe thing more than it is anything wrong with me. And I don't know, but it's expensive to tinker with shoes. Like I said, I've got a brand new pair of these Giros, these mountain bike shoes that I use, and I've already been wearing the ones that I currently have for well over a year and a half, and they've probably got another year or two left before they wear out to the point where I gotta switch to the brand new pair that I haven't even taken out of the box yet. So it's gonna be a long time before I even experiment with shoes again. Unless, money's no object and I can tinker with expensive bicycle shoes over and over until I find the exact magic formula that works for my feet. I don't know. Cleat position could be, I could fiddle with that a little bit. There's things I can do, but I think it just boiled down to last year doing too much on the bike and not enough other stuff, gaining too much weight. I mean, just lots of different things. So, what else is going on? So, yeah, I'm tired today. I have a good topic for today, and it was what I had planned on talking about last time we all talked. And I said, whether it was the live stream for the members on Sunday or whether it was last week when I said I already know what I'm going to talk about. So I put together a little bit. I don't really have slides for it this week, but um, we'll just wing it and see how it goes. Um, if we want to jump in to, since Blue Sky's in the house, I did not even make a slide for this one. What is today? Today is March 4th. Perfect. Let me go pop this up. I'll share my screen. All right. We're going to talk about Jesus Calling, the only book that I like to read right now. And this is the website. There's a couple of different websites where somebody basically just put all the entries from this book in a blog format, and there's two different ones. Sometimes there's bad spelling going on, but it matches up with the printed book. I don't even own. I've given out copies of the printed book to multiple people, but I don't have a copy myself. Mainly because I just don't. I don't even want to hold a book in my hands right now. I'm helping somebody write a book that's about to go to the printer. I'm hoping Monday. I'm so burnt out from working on this book. I've started working on something else today because the book is so finished that um I'm just waiting for some last minute tweaks that we're going to want to possibly make to this book. And but yeah, Monday or so, we're waiting for a couple of my buddies, hoping to get a couple of famous people to endorse his book. So we have a section in the beginning of like people who praise the book, or endorsements, but we called it something else inside the book. And we're waiting for a couple of those to come in that he would really like to have in there before we print it. And those will be really nice to have on the website too. Had to get a drink of water. But I'm just about done. I mean, I got to work on something different today. It was fun. Got to basically work on a website today and get some things done there. And everything just kind of moves forward the way it's supposed to. I finished the task that I set out to do a task today, and I thought it was going to take. I thought I wasn't going to have time enough to do it today, and I had until 5 o'clock to get it done before I'd have to switch gears. And I got it done at like 4:50, 4:55. And so that felt good to actually accomplish something today, and especially after wasting a whole day of my life yesterday doing nothing. I can't do that again this week. In fact, I'll have to work all day on Saturday and Sunday to make up for the hours I missed yesterday, which is fine. Um, I kind of feel sluggish today. I feel like not going to the gym yesterday put me in a different, like, I might even have more energy today if I had gone last night. But the lack of yoga, I was supposed to go to yoga class yesterday, and I feel like, but I don't know. Epsom salt bath is waiting for me after the live stream tonight. And well, yeah. And from there, I don't know. I've just got this never ending list. I'm so burned out because I've got this never ending to do list that it's really starting to wear me out. But Jesus Calling, the book, Sarah Young, written in the tone of, if Jesus was talking to us through this book, what would he have to tell us today? And today he says, refuse to worry. In this world, there will always be something enticing you to worry. That is the nature of a fallen, fractured planet. Things are not as they should be. They sure the hell aren't. So, temptation to be anxious is constantly with you, trying to worm its way into your mind. The best defense is continual communication with me, richly seasoned with thanksgiving. Awareness of my presence fills your mind with light and peace, leaving no room for fear. This awareness lifts you up above your circumstances, enabling you to see problems from my perspective. Live close to me. Together we can keep the wolves of worry at bay. And so part of yesterday not being able to function, I felt like, well, I know it was because of overtraining. When you work yourself, when you work out at a high level, at some point your body's just going to say enough. And that's kind of what happened. That's kind of what happened yesterday. Um, with my body just having, with me having no energy. But my client yesterday morning, we were in this Zoom meeting, and he was saying that he was all run down. And he's like, I don't know if it's like this blood moon thing that's going on and blah, blah, blah. And, maybe spiritually there's something going on there in the spirit realm or whatever. But refusing to worry in this world, there will always be something enticing you to worry. Everybody's on edge now, wondering, when somebody with a bomb vest is going to blow up the bus because Donald Trump decided to fuck around and get us into another fucking war. This motherfucker has turned his back on America in every single possible way that fucking dirtbag could. And I'm of the opinion that they started a war because they're so dead set against protecting the child molester billionaires from Epstein Island that they just decided to start a war as a distraction to get everybody to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein for a while. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, every time I turn around, Donald Trump is doing something to stab us in the back. All the people that voted for him and what he said he was going to do and what he said he wasn't going to do. And, he wasn't going to start any new wars. He was going to drain the swamp. And motherfucker it's like Donald Trump pulled up to the swamp with a bunch of fire hoses, and he's filling the swamp up with more water and filling it full of alligators and fucking snakes. When he said he was going to fucking drain it, he's doing the exact opposite, getting us into fucking wars. The economy is complete shit. I log into LinkedIn, and I can only tolerate to be on LinkedIn for a few minutes, maybe like a minute and a half before I got to tap out. And I'm not kidding. I don't even have that many friends on LinkedIn because I closed my LinkedIn account back in 2017. And then when I came out of prison, I joined up again and started building a following from scratch. So I don't have the hundreds of people that I used to be connected with. I still have less than 100, I think. I'm not kidding. Every time I log into LinkedIn, I see 5 to 10 people that I know showing up in my feed saying they just lost their fucking job. Like, I don't think we're going to get to the point where nobody has a job anymore, and we're surrounded by a bunch of empty houses that BlackRock and these fucking banksters own. But there won't be anybody to buy the houses because everybody's broke, unemployed, and homeless. And you go to the fucking grocery store, and I just saw this video today about how Walmart, I had to double check my freezer because they sell this ham at Walmart. It's called Kentucky Legend. Blue Sky, you're the one that told me about that. I like that stuff. I don't like Walmart at all, but there's one at the end of my road. And once a month, maybe once every 2 months, I will go into that grocery store. It's a little Walmart grocery store that's nothing but groceries. But it's called like the Walmart Community Market or some dumb thing like that. But it's a grocery store. And it's a full-size grocery store, but they don't sell anything else. And so I will go in there sometimes and pick up things that I can only get there. And the Kentucky Legend ham is one of those things. Well, this one dude's been going to different Walmarts, taking all the meat that's sold by weight and going up to the scale inside the store. And he grabbed like 8 of these Kentucky Legend ham blocks. And they were all marked at like 4 to 6 pounds each. and he was going up to the scale and putting them on the scale, and they were weighing out at like a pound and a half, 2 pounds. But Walmart, like a 2 pound ham, Walmart, the price tag says it's 6 pounds. So, and like he'll take ground beef, it'll say 5 pounds of ground beef. He'll take it up to the scale, it'll weigh out at 3.5 pounds. So now when you go fucking grocery shopping, you got to weigh everything out to make sure that the sticker, what it says on the sticker it weighs, it actually weighs that. Because now they're just fucking you like that. Like, when are they just going to start fucking with the gas pumps to where you pump 20 gallons of gas into your tank, but you only got 5 gallons? You know what I mean? Like, that's the shit that they're doing now to rip us off. Walmart, ain't nothing happening to them. They're just a bunch of, just a bunch of fucking crooked dirt bags, and they're going to get away with everything that they do. Well, I'm like, I got 3 of them Kentucky Legend ham blocks in my freezer. And I'm like, shit. So I had to go, I pulled them all out of the freezer today and weighed them. But they checked out. They weighed what they were supposed to weigh. But I was like, tell me I would have known if I was getting ripped off just because the price. I'm used to what these things cost. And if I saw that all of a sudden this Kentucky Legend ham was $30 for a block of ham, I'd have been like, what the hell's going on? Because these are usually like $11, $12 a block. And so they weighed out the way they were supposed to from the ones I have. But I did get screwed on a 5-pound thing of burger meat once, ground beef from Walmart, because I didn't notice anything was wrong, but I started weighing out burger patties, quarter-pound burger patties, and I was 4 burgers short on a 5-pound block, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I reweighed all my patties, and they were exactly, I'm anal about weighing stuff. My patties were a quarter-pound each, 0.25, 0.250 on my scale that goes to a thousandth of an ounce. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Turns out they shorted me a pound on the ground beef. It was supposed to be 5 pounds. It weighed out to 4. So yeah, these grocery stores, especially Walmart, they're a bunch of slimy dirtbags. You got to check everything now. I got a bottle of Gold Bond powder for my bathroom, and the thing's like this freaking big. And here, let me pull up the other camera here so I can. The thing was like this big. The bottle is huge. It's like that big. I held it up to the light. It's only that full of powder. It's like 80% of the bottle is empty, and there's only just a little bit of stuff in the bottom of the bottle, but they're selling it in these big giant fucking bottles for the same price it's always been, but they got rid of 80% of the product so that there's hardly anything in there. Deodorant, they're doing the same thing. When you buy deodorant now, turn the fucking little screw at the bottom of the thing and see only a tiny little bit of deodorant comes out of the tube. Will be this fucking long, and there's that much deodorant in it. You buy a bag of potato chips, it's, a bag of potato chips this big only has this much chips in it. Like, I'm just so sick and tired of getting fucked over by these cocksuckers every time you turn around. And yeah, LinkedIn is just a bunch of trash. I could start. There's a dude who is extremely popular, and all he does. This guy, his name is Joshua Fluke. He's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, and all this dude does is troll LinkedIn and talk about horrible douchebags in the business world. And it's hilarious. He is so funny, and I crack up. He had he got an interview for a job with an AI chat bot. And so he called in, Zoom or whatever for the job interview, and it's an AI bot that you have to talk to instead of a human being. So he started trolling this bot at the interview, and he was like trying to take over as administrator. He was trying to get the password for the bot. And like he went to town on this. It's the video is so freaking funny. Glenn says, I've been trying to buy ham lately because the price of beef. The price of fucking beef, dude, it's $50 now for a ribeye. For one fucking steak, it's $50 now for a fucking steak at the grocery store I go to. You used to be able to go to fucking Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and get a fucking ribeye for $50, $45, and that was considered an expensive steak. Now you have to cook the fucking thing yourself because you got to pay $50 for a steak. What the fuck, dude? Like, I'm tired of this shit. All this shit has been in the toilet since the day I came home from prison. Yeah, so I mean, the quality of everything's going downhill, and but yeah, I think the stress of it all, what of everything that we're witnessing right now, we're going to war. We're going to be sending our soul, we're going to be sending our young kids to go fucking die for Israel so that a bunch of rich child molesting cocksuckers, billionaires can, get more oil or whatever the fuck they want, get another island to take their kids to rape, whatever. We're going to send our kids to die so that these rich child molesting dickheads can live their best life. None of these motherfuckers are going to be sending their kids to die in any of these wars. Donald Trump's not sending his kids to die in any of these wars. Like, I can't wait to watch America burn to the fucking ground. I hate this country. I hate this country so fucking much. And people are going to be like, well, why don't you fucking leave? I would. I would fucking leave tomorrow and never come back. It's not that easy. Believe me, I'd already be gone. It's not like America where anybody can just walk in and get free healthcare and free money from the government and a room at the Waldorf Astoria and all the shit that the immigrants get when they come here. You don't get to go to Mexico and live like that and have all that shit handed to you. You don't get to just go to some other country. They won't even let you in. Most countries won't even let you live there and get a job there if you're not a citizen. So, like, you want to go live in another country, you have to be rich. John's JS is saying, just like Vietnam, no politician or their kids got the draft notification. Exactly. I think that's a contributing factor into my fatigue right now. Just sick and tired of it all. Like, I don't dwell on this shit all day long. This is the first time that I've really been thinking about any of this today while I talk to you guys. I got other things to go on doing today. I got work to do. I got things when I get done with talking to you guys, I'm off to something else. So it's not like but there is this whole, like, we all know that we're living in a country that's done. We know that the economy, like, I feel like the economy is worse right now than, I think 2008, the stock market crash was the worst I've ever seen the economy and the job market and everything in my lifetime. And so I was born in 1975. I've seen a few ups and downs in the economy, but the 2008 one was the worst one I've ever seen. I think what we're in right now is way worse than that. And the worst part about it is back in 2008, the politicians were acknowledging that it was crap, that we were in a recession, that they acknowledged that it was bad. Now they're all talking about how great everything is. And I'm like, who? The politicians, the talking heads are talking about how wonderful everything is. Yet we, the people, I don't know anybody who thinks that we're in a good place economically right now. I'm watching business after business fold. The business that I work for part-time, there's no business, and it's like that everywhere. It's just certain things, like nobody's buying steak anymore. Not when it's $50 for a fucking ribeye. It used to be like $10 for a fucking steak. Now it's $50 for a fucking steak. Like, what the? But I'm not kidding when I say this all the time, but I used to be able to go grocery shopping, and if I only had $100 to spend, I could still fill the cart. I could still fill the big shopping cart that you push with the four wheels and the big giant cart. I could still do pretty damn good on $100. Now $100, no matter what you fucking do, the stupid little plastic basket with the two handles that you carry around, you can't even fill one of those for $100. Now you buy four fucking things at the grocery store and it's $130. I mean, 4 packs of ramen noodles is probably $20 now. I don't even know, but I'm not buying ramen yet. Like, I mean, I have a little bit of that, but I'm anything that's halfway healthy or meat or anything, forget it. Like, I don't know how people are going to survive much longer because nobody can afford the fucking groceries at all. I mean, I'm dropping more money on groceries now to just for me and I don't go out to eat. I mean, when I work at the bakery, sometimes I grab breakfast or lunch at like Chick-fil-A, once in a great while, Five Guys, which is ridiculously expensive for a fucking burger. It's like $25 for a burger and fries at Five Guys. That's fucking retarded, but I'll do it once in a great while. Ramen used to be, 10 cents. Now it's 25 cents. Exactly. Like all the food is 5 times more or worse. Food, like I'm spending more money on food. Groceries, I know what my grocery budget is, or what I spend on groceries every month is more for just me than it used to be when I had 2 kids, a girlfriend, and me all living in the same house. That used to be cheaper than what it is now, just for me to get some groceries for me. And I'm not stocking up on shit. If the apocalypse comes, I'm gonna have to go out and start killing people for food, just like everybody else. Because I barely got enough food to last a week when the shit hits the fan, and I'll have to like fucking make I'll have to make some sort of makeshift zombie apocalypse weapon and go out like the end times, like what's the movie, The Road, like The Walking Dead, and go out and forage and just rob and steal and slice people up and take their food before they slice me and rob me and kill me to get my food, which I don't even have. So good luck. But they'll do it to get my bicycle. That's where we're going. And if you think that this, like, these Trump supporters, these preppers, these people, they are the people that you think are the people who would be there to help others. I'm just here to tell you, don't count on anybody, because those are the last people. Those are the first people they'll slit your throat and turn their back on you when things go bad. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, and I can tell you that I've said this more than once, but I'm not saying that every Republican I run into treats me badly or vice versa, or the Democrats. But if I made a list of all the people who have wronged me or turned their back on me or stabbed me in the back or just done rotten things to me since I came home from prison, and just made a list of all the people who acted like that towards me, 9 out of 10 are Republicans, Trump supporters, MAGA people. 1 out of the 10 would be a Democrat. And if I made a list of all the people who are really good to me and helpful and like understanding and think that what happened to me was wrong and all that kind of stuff, if I were to just make a random list of those people, I'd say like 7 out of 10 are Democrat, which is kind of surprising because when I was in the joint, so many people were telling me, oh, you're going to have so much back from those Trump supporters. They're going to love you. The MAGA people are going to really have your back when you get out of here. No. Republican MAGA people are the biggest selfish dirt bags that you're ever going to fucking meet. And they will be the first ones to turn their back on you. If you're in a community, if you live out in the middle of nowhere and you're surrounded by those people, when things go bad, when things go south, those are the ones that are going to stab you in the back, turn their back on you, shut their fucking door, and pretend that they never knew you. Guaranteed. Like, just, wait until it happens and you'll find out that that's what those people are. Your friends at church. You'll see how friendly people at church are when it's time to support one another. They'll be the last people that you can count on, 100%. But whatever. I mean, I don't know when we're going to get there. Obviously, people didn't like what I just had to say because the viewer count went from like 10 to 15 down to 4. But that's what happens when you tell the truth. I just got done saying that in the last couple of videos from the park, where I'm constantly saying now that once you decide to tell the truth, that really turns people away because they don't want to hear it. People can't stand, you can't handle the truth. We're talking movie quotes. Because people just want to be dumb and care about sports ball and beer and things that, bread and circus, just like the Roman emperors did with the Colosseum. Give these peasants something to scream and yell about, some sports ball and some beer, and then they won't bother us and we can go back to raping kids on the island and they'll leave us alone. And, you get the red pill and the blue pill. Morpheus comes up and he goes, hey, I got these 2 pills. You take this blue pill, you go back to watching sports ball, drinking your beer. You'll wake up in your bed tomorrow morning and this will all just be like a bad dream. You won't even remember what happened to you yesterday. But I got this other pill. It's a red pill. And if you take it, you're going to know the truth about everything going on around you. But the problem is, if you take that red pill, just be aware, there ain't no going back. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't unsee what's been seen. You can't undo what's been done. Once you take the red pill, it's game over. And so most people will just take the blue pill and be like, nah, just beer and football is fine with me. And that's it. And they go back to being stupid. And they say ignorance is bliss. And I get it, because I took the red pill. I mean, I was like 20, 21 years old when I took the red pill. So, I was into the rave scene back in the day. I went to art school. Somebody hands me a shiny red pill. I'm going to be like, all right. Well, didn't think about it that much. Thought, but then I took that damn pill and now my tinfoil hat is going on 30 years old. It's got a patina to it. And you're not supposed to clean that off too, because that's what they tell you on the Antiques Roadshow. If you take the patina off, it lowers the value by like half. So, you want it to show its age. But my tinfoil hat is old and I've been wearing this thing for 30 years. And no, you can't. I wish I could just shut it off and go back to the Matrix and plug the thing back into my neck and go peace out for the rest of my days and not worry about the shit anymore. You can't. So it is what it is. I'm not trying to wake people up anymore. I really don't care about the dumb sheep going to the slaughterhouse. Let them go. I don't give a shit about them. I'm not trying to wake anybody up. I'm not out here. That's not my mission. It's not my job. In fact, the more dumbass sheep that are running around with their COVID masks on and, going along with whatever Donald Trump says and, lining up for a free cheeseburger to get their COVID shot. Well, it's like the plains of the Serengeti in Africa. If you're a gazelle grazing out in the fields, you don't have to be faster and smarter than the lions. You're surrounded by lions. Everywhere you look, there's lions and hyenas surrounding your herd, just waiting to eat you. You don't have to be smarter and faster than them. You just have to be faster and smarter than the dumbass gazelles that aren't paying any attention, that are just, waiting to be eaten by those lions, tigers, crocodiles, hyenas, whatever. And it's like if you're one of the zebras at the creek and you're thirsty, wait until like 6 crocodiles got a zebra in their mouth. And then you go take a drink and be pretty safe. You don't got to worry about getting eaten. Just be smarter than the dumbass sheep that you're surrounded by, and they will give you a buffer zone. So when all this crazy shit starts to go down in this country, there's going to be a line of sheep going to the slaughterhouse and getting scooped up for the cull. And you're going to get plenty of warning if you're awake and you see it for what it is. You're going to be able to get out to the woods or, escape, or you're going to be able to do whatever you got to do to give yourself a leg up on the weak members of the herd. So we need those people. We need the dumb sheep. We need the sports ball and the beer drinkers. We need those people to keep us safe. It's like a canary in the coal mine. They used to take a canary down into the coal mines before we had electronic devices to sense the air quality. And if somehow that canary goes and dies, that gives you a warning. You might want to get the fuck out of the coal mine because there's some poison gas or a lack of oxygen or something. Like that canary kicks over and dies. That's your warning to get the hell out of the coal mine before you keel over. That's why we call it a canary in the coal mine. That's where the phrase comes from. So it's always good to have dumbass sheep lining up for the slaughterhouse to give you a warning. So you watch them and see what's happening to them. And then, JS says when a conspiracy comes true, they always tell me even a broken clock is right twice a day. And that's a pathetic response. I mean, here's what I got. Here's my advice is fuck them. Let them go to the fucking slaughterhouse. Let them go to the concentration camp. Let them line up to get their free cheeseburger from Dr. Fauci in exchange for a COVID shot. Like, seriously, when I got fired for not taking the COVID shot, I worked for a company. I liked all these people when I started working with them. And I got along with everybody at that place really well. And we were all good friends. We all had a good time. We all hung out together. And then this thing came along. And on the very first day, where it was the very last day I ever saw these people in the office, I had a legitimate reason to go to the office that day. And so I knew that was going to be our last day in the office, but I wasn't home that night. I spent the night somewhere else, and I had to go down to pick up my son. And so it totally made sense for me to go into the office that day and be there. And all we were doing was standing around talking about stuff anyway. And we all went home early anyway. So it was all just a weird day. But there was a guy who worked there. This is the level of idiotic shit that I was dealing with from these people all of a sudden. There was a guy there who had taken his flu shot back in November or October, September, whenever flu shot comes around. And he was sick for 3 months, like hospitalized sick, had to go to the ER sick. And he said he got sick within a couple of hours after taking his flu shot. And he said that he was messed up for 3 months and like bedridden, missing days of work, having to go to the ER, having to go to the hospital, having to constantly go to the doctor. Even the doctor was like, something in the flu shot messed you up. It's like, I'll take my chances with the flu. I've had the flu before. It don't fuck me up for 3 months like one of those shots. I've seen people go get their flu. I cannot count the number of times I've seen people go to get their free flu shot when you work at some big company, and they'll have like the fucking flu shot people out in the hallway. You can get your free flu shot when you show up to work that day. You know how many times I see people get their free flu shot and then have to go home in 2 hours because they're sick and they're gone for like 3 or 4 days. It's like, you just gave yourself the flu, you fucking retard. At least if you didn't take the shot, there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to get the flu or not. There's many winters I did not get the flu. Why take that shot where it's going to make you sick and fuck you up? And who knows what those shots are doing to you. So I wouldn't do it. Anyway, this dude was sick for 3-4 months. He was finally starting to feel better. And we're all standing around on the last day in the office during the COVID scam. And he starts making fun of the anti-vaxxers. He's like, yeah, whenever they come out with a vaccine, there's going to be a bunch of those anti-vaxxers that ruin it for the rest of us because they're not going to go along with it and they're not going to take the shot. I'm looking at this dude. I'm like, are you really that fucking retarded? You're the one that was just sick for 3 fucking months after taking your flu shot. And you're making fun of the anti-vaxxers because those people aren't going to want to take a shot from some experimental vaccine where they decided to treat you like the lab monkey because they didn't feel like testing it on animals this time. They're going to test it on you. So I looked at everybody and I said, I just laughed. I said, I'll test it on you guys. I'll let you all go take the shot and see how it turns out. And then I'm still not going to take it. And they all like started getting shitty with me. And I was like, look, I already know I'm going to get it's March 13th, 2020. And I'm here to tell you I'm going to get fired from this job at this company because I'll refuse to take the shot. And they look at me and they're like, oh, tinfoil hat Adam. Like, oh, what, you really think that would happen? You really think they would fire you for that? December 2021, 2 weeks before Christmas, I was fired from that company for not taking the fucking shot. Just like I said on the very first fucking day. So, you know what? Fuck you, motherfuckers. Like, I got nothing. And no, I don't have any regrets. I watched that dude from the Buffalo Bills pretty much drop dead on the football field. All these athletes in their prime, you know, the most conditioned, healthiest people among us, professional athletes, just done. Dropping dead left and right. Random people be in the middle of a fucking speech in front of a podium and just bonk, head bounces off the podium and they're laying on the ground. They're done, dead. Like, yeah, because people just drop dead all the fucking time. Yeah, fuck you. All these people, you know, and then that's the kind of shit I was dealing with. And so, you know, we go back to the Jesus calling here. And, you know, in this world, there will always be something enticing you to worry. And, you know, I keep talking about how I just don't give a fuck anymore. And that I'm truly trying to embrace that. If I do catch myself giving a shit about something lately, I'm like, Adam, you need to like let go of that because you're not supposed to have any fucks in your pocket to give anymore. About something sometimes. As right here, things are not as they should be. So the temptation to be anxious is constantly with you, trying to worm its way into your mind. And I do get worried about certain things when it comes to like I said, the thing bothering me most lately is I'm overwhelmed by the amount of things I have to accomplish and get done and the amount of time that I have to do it with. That's been my big thing for the last, I would say, January, February into March. That's my main thing right now. But continual communication with the good Lord, seasoned with thanksgiving, awareness of his presence will fill you with peace and it helps get rid of that fear. The awareness lifts you up above your circumstances, enabling you to see the problems from his perspective. And live close to God. Together we can keep the wolves of worry at bay. It's definitely, I mean, Luke, here we go. Luke chapter 12, verse 25 to 26. And which of you by being anxious can add a single hour to his span of life? If then you are not able to do as small a thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? Like, worrying about stuff isn't going to make any difference. I get a little bit worried about money here and there lately. And it just seems like I've just got to, I've training. I'm learning that it just seems to work out, whether I worry about it or not. So many times in the last, going back to April 2024, when I got out of the joint. It's been a nonstop sea of things to be worried about. Every day there's something to worry about. Today I've got money problems, and I'm just like, I'm telling you, every single time it works out. Um, I thought of a new creative solution to a potential money issue I might have in the middle of March, but probably won't. Things are starting to even out. I'm billing a client that I'm working for once a week, and that's starting to have a positive effect. But I would say by the middle of March, whatever the middle date is here, because if I go by Sundays, so yeah, by I'd say by like the 18th of March, things will be like picking up in the right direction to where I won't be in the like one more month maybe by May. By the time my lease is up here at this place I'm living, I shouldn't be like stressing out after I pay my rent on the first of the month, wondering how I'm going to survive the rest of the month, or just getting to the point where every time I pay my rent, I have almost no money left. This is the biggest bill I pay. And now I've got a lot more bills just because of the car, the insurance, there's other things. I'm going to a gym now, and I mean, after paying all the initial fees and all the BS up front that you pay, it's still like $30 a month to go to the gym, but it's just little things like that adding up. And so I don't know. It just seems like everything's working out. I've seen I've been through so much worse stuff since April of 2024. And I don't know I don't know what you're going through, what you've been through, because some of you are obviously going through things right now that suck. And maybe you can look back a year ago and your life was better. And so I'm not gonna, I don't want to substitute my situation for yours or whatever. All I know is I hit rock bottom, the rockiest rock bottom, probably worse than most people's rock bottoms. And now I'm at the point where I can look back a year ago today, and whatever's bothering me today, whatever's like, whatever's causing me to, I'll get worried, but then I have a tendency these days to just let it roll, let it go. It's getting a lot easier. I'll tell you that. I get worried about something for maybe 10 minutes and then I'm like, whatever, I don't care anymore. And we kind of have to be like that. Carrying it with you day after day, all day long isn't going to do anything. But I've been there where you're worried about something day in and day out all day long and you can't focus on anything else. And then you're just making your life even worse and causing yourself more problems because that lack of focus caused by the worry just keeps you from getting things done. And kind of like it's that the worry just makes things worse. And so for me, at least right now, I can look back a year ago and know that I'm way better off right now than I was a year ago. And I can look back a year from there. And a year ago, I was way better off than I was a year before that. So that's 2 years in a row where life is just infinitely better a year after looking back a year, it's way better now. And the same thing was last year. I could do the same thing. And so next year I'll be able to look back at today and say, wow, things are so much better now. At least that's the hope. That's what I hope for. And if things keep progressing the way they are, I'll be able to do that. But, when I was in prison, when I was homeless, I couldn't look well. When I was homeless, we can go back one more year. When I was homeless, I could look back a year ago and say, well, at least I'm not in prison. And when I was in prison, I could look back a year before that and say, well, at least I'm in a better prison now than I was a year ago. April 1st, 2024, I was in a better place, or let's say March 2nd, 2024, I could look back a year ago and know that I was still better because the place I was at was way better than the place I was in a year ago. And a year ago on that day, I didn't even know when I was going to go home. At least I knew I was probably going home at the end of March or early April, even though they never really gave me a date till the day came. So I can go back. It's 2026. It's March 4th. I can go back to 2025, March 4th. It's way better today. Last year, I could look back a year. It's still better. I could look back a year before that. Still better. So each year I go back in time to 2023. So that's 3 years I can go back. It wasn't until like 2022 was better. March 2022 was better than March 2023. So, not like I said, not every year is a step forward. March 2023, I was looking back a year ago, looking at all the shit I lost, and that now I'm sitting in jail for a Twitter post. Um, so, but I'm a fighter. I won't, Muskegee land. You've come a long way since I started following you in Jamestown. The cards were stacked against you, as I was too. I fight. Like, I'm a fighter. I don't accept things the way they are. It may take time to change your circumstances and to dig out of a hole or whatever, but I'm not going to just throw in the towel. In fact, my hatred of all the people that did this to me and is that's enough motivation alone, because like, I want to walk away with my middle fingers up in the air and walk off into the sunset being like, haha, thanks to you guys fucking me over the way that you did, I'm better off today than I ever would have been in my life. I'm not there yet. I was talking to somebody this week about the books, about how I'm helping a friend write a book and all the work that I've done and all the things that I've learned about publishing a book that I kind of knew about, but had never done it before. So, like, ISBN numbers, getting a barcode, an official barcode in ISBN, and having your book in the worldwide database of, barcode products and how all that works. Now I know the details. I know that in great detail. I know exactly what to put on a copyright page. I know, like, all these different ins and outs of writing a book. And all these different things about writing the book, I feel like, was so that I could write a book myself. And well, that's good to hear, Muskegee land. Almost homeless to a beautiful apartment in Santa Fe with money in the bank. That's good. That sounds like good progress. Um Wait, somebody talking about getting cancer. I don't go to the doctor. Yeah, if I won't find out from a doctor that I have cancer, because the only way I'm going to a doctor is if I'm unconscious and I don't have a say. I don't know. The doctors didn't do shit for anybody in my family that got cancer. I don't know. I mean, they gave him some morphine towards the end. that's about that's about all they can do. That you're going to see a doctor in an industry, they don't want to cure cancer because there's no money in the cure. The cure for cancer is probably a $5 pill. They're not gonna give you the cure for cancer if it's cheap, because they make millions of dollars treating the cancer. The longer they can, like, drag your death out and give you, expensive chemotherapy and all these whacked out treatments that don't do shit. Um, they're just making money off of you at that point. Like, I'm not a medical expert, don't take my advice for real. I don't. I just know that I don't know. I think that I know for sure that A lot of your health is in your mind. And, there are exceptions to that rule. But I know in general, I know a lot of people who don't ever get sick and they just don't ever believe that they're sick. Like my grandfather, he lived to be in his 80s. He lived a long life. That motherfucker, he went in for heart surgery one day and I went to the hospital to see him and the room was empty. And I was like, what the hell? And so I went back to the desk and they're like, oh, we sent him home same day because it was less invasive. It was, they do the surgery with a small incision now instead of cutting your chest open with a saw. Um, so he was, anyway, I came home and we all lived on the same farmland. So I drove by his house on my way to my mom's house. He was out mowing his fucking yard with a push mower. He just had heart surgery that day, like a few hours ago. And he's out mowing the yard and doing yard work. And I got home and I'm like, Mom, didn't grandpa just have heart surgery today? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, why is he out mowing his lawn? She's like, what? She runs out of the fucking house, drives over to his house, and I could hear across the cornfields, Dad, what the fuck are you doing out here right now? But that's just how he was. Like, he never believed anything was wrong with him, and he never believed he was sick, and he really never did get sick. And yet I know people who believe that they're sick all the time, and they are sick all the time. It's like, I can't explain it other than like, if you can't, what you think about, you bring about is one of the phrases my client who wrote the book likes to say all the time. When you focus on the negative, you bring the negative into your life. I'm an example of that. I've done that many times. When you focus on the positive things, you bring the positive things into your life. I'm also an example of that. I've also done that many times in my life. I've done both. I've materialized good and bad just by focusing on it more than one time in my life. Tons of examples. But when it comes to like the health, I broke my arm. I broke my freaking elbow in a mountain bike spill. We'll just leave it at that. And I didn't go to a doctor for 8 weeks. And it's hard to explain, but I mean, if my arm was like literally like kicked over and like if it was an obvious break, I definitely would have went to it. I may have even had to get on an ambulance or something because, but it was a fractured radial head. It was in the elbow itself, and you've got so many ligaments and tendons in there, and it's just packed full. Basically, your arm, your ligaments and your muscles and everything in that area will hold the bone in place. So it never needed to be casted. But it never healed properly either. And I don't know if that could have been prevented or what, but I didn't go to a doctor for 8 weeks after breaking my arm. So I'm definitely not going. I'm definitely not going to the doctor unless I'm unconscious. And that's just the way it is. I mean, whatever. I feel like I'm healthier than most, and I don't have I'm not full of vaccines and shots and all this bullshit that people go to the doctor for. I don't ever get sick. Rare. And even if I do get sick, I'm sick for like 2 days and I'm back. So I don't know. This is the way I am. This is the way I live. That's one area of my life that you can't convince me there's anything wrong. And I feel like that's why I never get sick and I never really have anything wrong with me. I don't eat well. I don't live like the epitome of a healthy life. There's definitely people who are worse than me in the healthy eating department, but it's not like I eat nothing but fruits and green leaves and the things that you're supposed to eat to stay healthy, but I'm not really that bad off. Like, I just got to lose some weight. That's really my biggest thing right now. And I probably could change my diet a little bit to help with this lack of energy situation, make some adjustments. But like, I'm just saying, I know people who believe that they're sick all the time and they are always fucking sick. Bakery cookies. Yeah, I'm doing that once a week now. So I'm not even like, that's not even as big of a thing. I don't buy that kind of stuff at the grocery store. I never do. Once in, maybe I'd get a thing of chocolate chip cookies to have with my morning coffee, but that's about it. Um, but not right now. Like there's a Whataburger right across the parking lot when I come out of the gym. If I'm working out three hours at the gym plus an hour in the hot tub and the sauna, and right across the parking lot from the front door of the gym, Whataburger right there. There's nothing that sounds better after being that hungry, after working out for 3 solid hours of busting your ass, than a giant cheeseburger. And I have yet to do it. My willpower will not allow me to, like, I have yet to go get bad food after eating at the gym. There's like 3 HEB grocery stores on my way home, maybe 4. And so I can stop at the grocery store on my way home and I've got like 4 to 6 different things that I can run in, grab, come back out 5 minutes, in and out, self checkout if I have to. And when I get home, I can just open it up and eat like a chicken salad or something that requires no work, that will give me the protein, but something way, way healthier than eating the garbage from a greasy bag at a drive-through. And so um so anyway, there's that. So when we were talking about like Jesus calling, um we have the thumbnail image and the topic of today's live stream. And if I just pull that up for a second. So, should we be terrified of answered prayers was the title of the stream today. And okay, Blue Sky, you said you ordered a cookbook from a young Amish lady. Looking forward to getting that. I used to buy food from the Amish at the farmers markets all the time. And the ingredients, like, they made the best apple pies, the best apple pie I've ever had. And there's like 4 ingredients: apples, sugar, flour, and something else. There's like 4 ingredients, maybe 5 ingredients on the apple pie ingredients. And if you go to like the fresh market, Whole Foods, Whole Paycheck Foods, whatever, healthy eating store, and you get the freshest apple pie that you can find, butter, exactly, butter, flour, sugar, apples, whatever else I said, cinnamon, like not much. But you go to like Whole Paycheck Foods or the Friendly Farmer Market or whatever, and you get the freshest apple pie. It's going to have like 75 ingredients, half of which you can't pronounce, most of which give you cancer. Yeah, the Amish, they ain't playing. I used to go get donuts. I mean, the Amish were all around me where I lived in Pennsylvania, so I could go get all kinds of good food from them. You get donuts from the Amish. If you don't eat them by the end of the day, they go bad. They're like bad, stale. If you're not going to eat them I'd say you got like 4 hours to eat them. If you don't eat them, put them right in the freezer. And even in the freezer, no more than a week. Most of the time, I could put pastry in the freezer. I can put cookies from the bakery I worked at for 3 months in the freezer, and they're going to be fine. 3 months in the freezer, you pull one out, throw it in the oven for 10 minutes. It's good. Fine. It's like it's fresh. Those Amish donuts, no. Loaf of bread, 3 months. You can freeze a loaf of bread from the grocery store for 3 months in the freezer, pull it out. When I thaw it out, I usually open the bag to the air so that the moisture can like leave because there's a lot, you'll get crystals and things the longer it's been in the freezer. You don't want to just leave the bag closed when it thaws out, or you're going to have too much moisture in the bag. All I do is open up the end of the bag and let it, once the bread is thawed out completely, you can put the twist tie back on the bread and you're fine. You've let enough moisture out of the bag, but it's going to be just as fresh as when you bought it. You're not going to really be able to notice the difference. It's really not much of a difference between bringing bread home from the grocery store. And I'm talking like the regular bread aisle bread with all the preservatives and bullshit in it. Not fresh bread that's, from like if you get Amish bread, or there was a place in Pittsburgh to get fresh pita bread every day. I can't even eat pita bread anymore because of that. The pita bread I used to get was so fresh. 1 month, 30 days at the most. You freeze a bag of that pita bread any more than 30 days, it's going to be bunk. When you thaw it out, it's not going to be any good. So, but you play around. That's how you know it's good. Because it won't even last in the freezer for longer than a few weeks. The Amish donuts don't even last any more than a week in the freezer. They're done. But if you don't eat them within 12 hours, they're done. So if you bought a dozen and you ate 4, you and your people, you definitely got to eat them every day until they're gone, because, that's why I would never get a dozen. We'd get like 6. 3 of them would go in the freezer and I'd have a donut for breakfast for a few days. But anyway, back to the thing at hand. Should we be terrified of answered prayers? And so where this came from, a video popped up on my YouTube feed of, the title basically said, Grok analyzed every prayer in the Bible and what it found out about faith will shock you. Or I've looked this up on Google or on YouTube, and there's probably 500 to 1,000 of these videos with the same theme and the same title. And it's all just the AI slop videos that are out now. These freaking videos with just the goofy montages with the words on the screen and some goofy ass AI voice narrating the whole video. I'm so tired of these videos popping up, but this one caught my attention for a minute. And the title of the one I watched was, Students Fed Every Biblical Prayer into Grok, and What It Decoded About God Terrified Them. And so it's a clickbait thing. It's been going around on YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms. AI told me it's been going around since 2025. Same title. Every prayer in the Bible was fed into an AI and analyzed and looked at by students and scholars and, so-called researchers. And it was an earth-shattering discovery, blah, blah, blah. And so, but the funniest part about it is that the so-called experts in these videos, every time that they uncover one of these patterns with prayer and faith, and when they see that it works, it's terrifying or it's shocking. And it's like, why should you be terrified when God answers your prayer? But that's how fucked up people are now, especially the so-called experts. And that's how they are in real life. When they go and they look at the Bible and they are able to prove something in the Bible is real, and that something really happened, or something that it says is true, they're terrified and shocked, because, all of these so-called experts these days, the atheists, are living their life to discredit God. Like their whole life's work is to try and discredit these feeble-minded, weak-minded people who rely on the invisible sky fairy to handle all their problems. And that, that's just one of the things that the trolls always say when they show up to my YouTube space to shit on me for the day. That's one of the, they always say stuff like that. And what's wrong with it when it works? But also, I have people show up and talk about, and this has happened to me too. I'm not innocent of this, that I pray for this and that, and I never see the results. And so, not every single time I pray for something, I don't always get what I pray for. I mean, if I did, I wouldn't have been in jail for more than a couple of days because I spent 600 days locked up. You think I didn't pray every single day to go home, for God to just let me go home? Please just let me go home and get this nightmare over with. He made me sit in there for 600 days before I got to go home. And the only reason it was 600 instead of 599 was because on April 1st, April Fool's Day, I was called down to the prison office and told, "You're going home today." Yay. And then an hour later, they're like, "Oh, never mind. You got to stay until tomorrow because we can't get you a train ticket and a bus ticket until then." And, I mean, think about how that would feel. But at the same time, it was like, what's one more night in this dump gonna be? It was the difference between being able to say goodbye to some people that I actually liked versus just disappearing. And believe me, I would have been fine with just disappearing. And like, what happened to Adam? I don't know. I guess he went home. That would have been fine with me. But um hypochondriacs always think they're going to get sick. I mean, yeah, I didn't use the word, but that's exactly what I was talking about. Um, but, imagine, being so anti God that you hate the idea of a God who loves all of us so much that even a positive outcome of prayer feels like a horror story when you hear about it. Um, why would you want to run from the blessings that he wants to give you? Um, I mean, are you so dead set against God that you would run away from the gifts that he wants to give you if he were to just hand them to you one day? Would you turn them down because that would mean that you have to admit God's real? But some people are like that. Some people are that fucking stubborn. So I got sucked into one of these clickbait videos, and I kind of rolled my eyes, especially at the AI voice and whatever, and thought it was just some more of this AI slop, which it was AI slop. That's what we all call it. But there was a part of there was something about this video that actually clicked. And I thought, this is actually a good topic to talk about because it talked about a process of what you should do when you pray and the way that you pray can have an effect on the outcome of the things that you pray for. And while I don't always follow this pattern when I pray, I started thinking about lots of different answered prayers that I've had in my life and miracles that I've seen take place in my life. And definitely the things I've experienced where miracles have happened and things that can't be explained any other way, they do fall into this pattern that this video was talking about. And so I thought that even though this is an AI generated bullshit video, that there was something good in it that was worth writing down. And um there was no sources, there was no proof of it wasn't like Stanford University ran this study where they used AI, blah blah blah. It was just a bunch of clickbait nonsense. But they talked about this 4-step process, 4 things to think about when you're praying that will help the things that you're praying about come into reality. Because the Bible says over and over, pray as if you've already received the thing that you've prayed about with thanksgiving and believing that it's already happened. And, Jesus said if you had the faith the size of a mustard seed, that you'd be able to pick up a mountain and toss it into the sea. You'd be able to look at a fig tree and cause it to wither or cause the figs to grow. And so I just thought it was interesting, and it basically outlines 4 aspects of prayer that will help you materialize the things that you pray about into reality. And so they had 4 steps, and each of the 4 steps had a title, I guess, or at least I wrote down a title for each one because I kind of put it in my little notepad where I have like the things I want to pray about. Um, and so the first step was called the anchor, and it's, recognizing who God is and why he deserves our praise, recognizing that God is the one that created the universe and nothing is impossible without him, with him, and that if it's his will, there's nothing that can be done to stop his will from being done. We all have our own free will. That's generally why the earth is so screwed up right now, because that's the one thing. God will not get in the way of you making your own choices, because if he did, then you wouldn't have any free will. And um so anyway, I'm reading the chats, so that's why I'm like, huh? And I'm just like, you guys can argue that one out yourselves. I'm not gonna get in that one. I'm just gonna keep going with what I'm talking about. Um, but recognize God is God. And that's what most people in the Bible do. The people whose prayers come true, the people that God uses in the Bible, they all recognize and give God the worship, the respect, the adoration, put him on the pedestal where he belongs. Recognize that he is the power most, he is the one and only true God who created the heavens and all the universe and everything in it. He deserves all the praise. We're nothing compared to him. Just recognize God for what he is. That's the first step. Sometimes I just jump into praying about what I want, or maybe I'll jump into like a pattern of prayer. There's certain prayers that I say when I go into the bakery to work. It's kind of like a repetitive thing that for some reason, I always remember to say a prayer, not just for me, but for everybody I work with at that place, to like protect us. I don't want to see anybody get burned. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Help us all get along with each other. There's something I found out a while back. There was one girl in particular a long time ago that I was having beef with, and I would just pray about it. I would go off to myself and just say a prayer about that. And I'd come back, and all of a sudden I'd start getting along with her, and it was like nothing ever happened. And so I just noticed certain things. So when I ride my bicycle to work, especially, I just kind of jump into I say these prayers. There are things that I should pray about here when I'm working at home, and I never do. And I always forget to do it. But I notice that when I do, things tend to go a lot smoother. There's less friction. Things slide into place. I don't get into as many arguments with people. I don't fight with my computer as much. I don't have as many technical errors. Like, I just notice that when I pray about things, sometimes I remember to pray before I do the live stream, and they go smoother, and the whole thing goes better. I've less technical glitches. The internet connection stays strong the whole night. Things like that. But step one of the 4 is the anchor, and just recognizing who God is. Step two is called the alignment. And it's not just asking for what you want. I mean, I've got a list of things I want, most of which I shouldn't be asking for, but it is what it is. Um, but it says don't just ask for what you want, but ask for something that aligns with a larger purpose. If you ask God for something that serves God and serves the kingdom instead of just some selfish thing that you want for personal gain, you're probably going to have a better chance to receive the thing that you're asking for. It's like turning your request, it's like tuning your request into the frequency that the receiver is actually monitoring, like tuning into a radio station. You know, if you're asking for something that's just way out of alignment or something that's evil, like, I'm sure Tom Hanks prays for little boys and girls to rape when he goes to Epstein Island, but he shouldn't be praying for those things because that's not a good thing to ask for, especially to ask God for. But some of these people are that fucking twisted. They'll probably get what they want because they're billionaires and they're, protected. And, those kind of people just get what they want and get to live their best life. But us peasants, we're going to be more likely to get something if it's something that serves God and it's in alignment with what he wants you to do and how he wants you to live your life, than it will be if you're just asking for some selfish thing like $1 million. You could ask God for $1 million, and if God can use that $1 million through you to do something good for people, I bet he would be more willing to give it to you than if you're just going to go spend it on hookers and blow. If you ask God, can I have $1 million so I can get all the hookers and blow my heart desires for the next couple of years, you're probably less likely to receive it. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's like the example was tuning a radio into the right frequency that the receiver is monitoring. Like you're the broadcaster and you have to find the frequency that the radio is tuned into. People don't realize that their misaligned desires might even be blocking the thing that they are requesting. And it also says, don't beg for it. Don't no desperation, no begging for it, no emotional manipulation. Don't even sit there. God, if you give me this thing I'm asking for, I promise I will never. How many people pray for something and then they make a promise that says, if you answer this prayer, I promise I will never look at naked girls again on the internet, or who knows. God knows you're full of crap when you make these promises. But there are a lot of times where I can just look at things that prayers that have come true seem to have a bigger purpose than just some selfish thing I wanted. And I've got lots of examples of that. And I could get into some of these examples after I get through the 4 steps. The third step was called the surrender paradox, where prayers that demand specific outcomes at all costs have a low correlation with positive results. Prayers that make specific requests but surrender the outcome to God show miraculous results. Not when you ask God, when you ask him for something, but then you say, not my will, but your will be done. That's technically the highest form of surrender in the Bible, because Jesus himself in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he knew he was going to be killed the next day, he was begging, he was asking God to take that cup away from him because he knew what it was going to be. He knew what was going to happen tomorrow. He knew he was going to be crucified. He knew he was going to be killed, but not just killed, but in a brutal, horrifying way. Where Jesus was so stressed out about it that he was sweating blood. Like, have you ever been so stressed out at a point in your life where you sweat and it was blood coming out of your pores because you were that stressed out? That's what happened. That's how stressed out Jesus was that night in the garden. And he was asking God, can you take this cup away from me? But at the same time, not my will be done, but your will be done. And we all know we all know that the cup wasn't taken away. So Jesus was willing to cave in, even though he wanted the cup to be taken away, and he could have had the cup taken away. But he surrendered to he surrendered to the bigger plan. And he ended up better off in the end. He just had to endure a day of hell. And then now he gets to sit at the right hand of God, and he got to come back from the dead, hang out with all of his people for a little bit longer. Like, he got the spoil. He ended up with a better result, but he had to suffer a little bit to get it. And so, there's certain things I'm praying about that, I do have that I could get fixated on having exactly what I'm asking for, but I've really just kind of caved into it and just said, whatever it is, God, that you want in this situation, I would rather it be your will be done than mine, because I know that what you want is better than what I want right now. And so whatever that is, however that's supposed to shake out, I would rather have it be done your way than my way. But you also know you also know what's on my mind. And I'm just leaving it at that. There's a lot of different things that I could say that about. And so, but that is kind of where you have to get for some of these prayers and some of these results to show up. And I've experienced this many times. The more you it's like the more you accept. I don't want to say accept things the way they are, because that's not the right way to put it. But when you just kind of surrender being focused on a specific outcome and a specific time frame, and just have faith that God will work this out somehow, that's when it usually works out better than your imagination had in mind. But the more you fixate on a specific outcome and a specific date, or the more specific you get and the more focused you get on everything working out exactly as it is in your mind, things either don't work out or you end up running into a wall that you can't get past, or something blocks you or gets in your way. And step 4 is that persistence pays off. So, and it talks about how most people give up right before the big breakthrough happens. Sometimes God answers prayers right away. I've experienced that. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, months, or even years to get your prayer answered. And I've experienced that too. I just talked about that. I spent 600 days locked up for a Twitter post, and I would have definitely liked to go home. All 600 of those days, I was begging God to let me go home and put this behind me. And I certainly wasn't praying to be fucking homeless after the fact. So, like, I had to wait. I had to wait 600 days from the day they drove the tank into my house to be able to go back home. And then I went home to being homeless. And it took months just to find a place to get a roof over my head that wasn't, I was at a homeless shelter, but, like a roof that was a place where I could actually start to rebuild from, and not, be just surviving one day to the next. But if it's in alignment with God's will, his will be done. And so that was the four things that I wrote down from this video because it kind of made sense. It's just something to think about when you're praying. And one of the things that I think goes along with it as well that maybe it wasn't really said in these four things, but it was kind of in the Jesus calling entry for today. And that's the gratitude part, the thankfulness. Like, if you can be in jail in the one of the worst places on earth and find 10 things to be thankful for today, then you can be grateful and thankful no matter what you're going through. I mean, if you're on your deathbed, if I was on my deathbed dying of cancer, waiting for the last breath, I would still be able to find 10 things to be thankful for. I don't know what those would be. I don't even want to think about that because I'm not there right now. But I know if I could do it when I was locked up in that hellhole, all the different hellholes that I spent time locked up in, I just came up with a way of doing it. I've got, 10 fingers if you count both thumbs. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I'm walking down the street, when I go on my little 7-mile hike on Fridays now, at some point in that hike, I've got, I walk at 3 miles an hour. So that's about 2.5 hours of walking, along with half an hour to an hour of sitting on a bench recording a video for you guys. And so at some point, I can come up with 10 things to be grateful for as I'm walking, and it'll just be something I do during the course of that hike or that walk. I'll come up with something. I'll come up with these 10 things, and it's usually pretty easy, especially these days. It's 80 degrees out in the middle of February and sunny. Boom. There's one right there. The car, the bicycles, the health, the gym, whatever's going on. It tends to be, from one week to the next, 5 of the 10 things might be the same as last week, but there might be 5 things that are new this week, different than last week, whatever. It's not hard to come up with 10. Sometimes I'll come up with 20 just because I'll keep going. But it's like you can easily come up with 10, even if you're in a bad mood. In fact, I'll do it when I'm in a bad mood. Like, I'll just get to a point where I'll go chill somewhere. I got a little itch in my back. I got to try and I might have to go get a back scratcher. But there are times where I might be in a bad mood, and that's one of the things that'll help me snap out of being in a bad mood is just think about all the things you have to be thankful for. One being, look where I was a year ago, living in that tiny little. I can go back and watch a YouTube video from a year ago exactly and see what I was bitching about. Living in that crappy ass tool shed with no hot water and a slumlord landlord giving me all kinds of problems. And having to ride my bicycle 250 miles a week to go to a $10 an hour job, 250 miles a week. I mean, I could come up with a lot of things that all I'd have to do is watch a video from a year ago and be like, yeah, things are way better now. And hopefully next year I can look back at today and be like, oh man, look how tough it was, and just keep going in that direction. I hope. But everything keeps moving in that direction. There's no guarantees, but before the FBI showed up at my house, I can't really think of a time where life took a big nosedive for a while. Not like to where I couldn't look back a year ago and think I was worse off than I was a year ago. I honestly can't think from when I was like, let's say from the time I turned 18 and moved out of my parents' house to till the FBI drove a tank through the front door of my house. I really can't think of a year where 1 year later I couldn't look back and say things were better. Every year it seemed like things were better than a year ago. There'd be ups and downs. It's not a straight line at all. Even when you climb Mount Everest, you go downhill a lot. There are places where you have to go downhill before you climb up to the next camp. Um, but you're working your way up to the top. On mountain bike rides, on road bicycle rides, to get to the top of the whatever it is that you're climbing up, it's almost never a straight shot to the top. There's usually ups and downs that eventually you get to the top. Uh, I remember climbing a mountain in Virginia a few weeks before I was arrested. And there were a lot of places where the trail went downhill for a while and then turned and went back up. And this was like a 4,000-foot climb. I'll probably, since we're doing this live, I can, while I talk, just, I know I can pull this up without a lot of, oh boy, got to go to a different browser. I know I can pull this up while we sit here and talk. I can just give you like an example of what I'm talking about. Here, it's just got to take a minute to log in. Oh, come on. Some of these things are so ridiculous to log into anymore. That's why they're making things difficult to log into, because they want everybody to have that digital ID so that you can't get on the internet without, putting in your fingerprint so that everybody knows who you are. So they can track everything you do more than they already do. But let's see, it was 2022 for, I'll find this. 23, 22, and it would be here. Yep. Boom. Just about there. Is that it? I guess it's not exactly what I was talking about, but I'll share my screen. So you can see on the profile here, it's called Sharp Top Mountain. It's in Virginia. It's on the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's a really cool hike, but it's a beast. You can see you start out at like 2,559 feet, and at the top you're at 3,810 feet. That's it's a bit of a climb. But there are parts here where it, like right here, it kind of goes downhill for a minute. And it feels different when you're on the trail and you're actually hiking 3,218 down to 3,210. This may not be the best example of a hike like this, but there are times where you're going downhill and then you pick right back up. There are definitely climbs that are worse than this in that regard. Maybe this wasn't the best example, but I do remember a couple of areas on this hike where it felt like we were walking downhill for a bit before it picked back up and went back uphill. And so it's not a straight line. So if I'm talking, like if I was here last year and now I'm here this year, you can see that there's parts where it picks up really fast, but then there's parts where it stagnates and it just kind of goes flat. And like I said, there are some cases, I don't know, I'll stop sharing my screen, and but you get what I'm saying. I could probably find a better example of this, but Yeah. Well, obviously that wasn't. Trying to think. No, that wouldn't even be. It would have to be before that. 2020, 2020, 2019. No. Uh, no. 18, 2014. Let's see what we got in there. July. Nope. Let's see. No. Huh. When the hell did I go to that? It's 2015. 2012. Let's see what we got there. Come on. Oh, I'll try and see what this one has. Nope. When did you go there again? Nope. Ooh, what about? No, that won't be it. Just 14. No, that was. Okay, here's one. This might fit that. No. All right. Well, I'm done. I'm not going to waste time like having you watch me poke around on Strava looking for the right elevation profile from a hike or a bike ride. But there's definitely, I even though I'm going up year after year, there were some low spots. If I were to kind of draw the chart, if I were to go a year ago to today, April and May were like, if I started out in March, April and May would have been a downturn. Like April and May were way worse than March, but then June was all of a sudden better. Then July was really good. Then August and September, I felt like I took a dive, like I went downhill until I got that car. And then I shot up, but then I started having car problems and that was stressing me out. And there were other things going on. And so I went downhill for a bit. But then those things got worked out. And now I've been climbing and climbing and climbing and things have gotten better. So I ended up way better than I was last year at the same time. But it definitely wasn't a climb. It wasn't a climb. It wasn't a continuous uphill climb. There were a few drops where if I compared today to a month ago, I'm worse off than I was a month ago. But if you look at it from a year ago, the overall trend is up. Even if I'm having a bad month, if I look back a year ago, I can still say I'm better off today. And I don't know if I don't think I'm having a bad month right now, but definitely this week feels like a drop compared to like the last 3 weeks, energy wise and things like that. This week feels things feel I feel worse this week than I have in a few weeks, but I'm still like way better than a year ago. Still better than 3-4 months ago. So it's not a straight line. I gotta get something to drink. I'm dying. Hold on. I gotta get water. Was I smart enough? Yes, I was. Oh, cold water right here. All right. Ah, all right. Energy. So that's pretty much the topic of today was that once again, the four things to think about when you pray. Recognize who God is. Like I don't need, I don't always follow this myself, but it's something to think about now and it's something that will be on my mind when I sit down. Like if I'm driving someplace by myself and I'm just sometimes I turn off the music and I just talk to the good Lord and I ask and talk and have a conversation with him. The first thing that might come out of my mouth is just praise of who God is and what he's done and just thanking him for all the things that he's done, going all the way back to when I was, 20 years old, not just, what he's doing now. And recognizing who he is before I even ask for anything. And then instead of just making a Christmas list for Santa Claus of everything that I want, putting it in such a way that like I want what's in alignment with what God wants. I'm not just going to be like, hey, I want a new Mercedes. I asked God for a car. I wasn't picky about it. If I was picky about it, I would have asked God for a two-door Jeep Wrangler. Like I would have, and here's the thing. When I got out of college, I was very dead set on getting a two-door Jeep Wrangler. But my budget was not conducive for that vehicle. And so I only looked at Wranglers. And back then, I don't even think the four-door Wrangler was even a thing yet. I just wanted a Wrangler. I wanted a Jeep Wrangler. But the budget that I had to work with to go get a car meant that all the Wranglers that I went and looked at were trash. They were just beat the fuck up and trashed and abused. And I ended up getting a Jeep and the whole thing fell apart in like 2 months. It was bad. And I was able to kind of weasel my way through like New York's lemon laws and stuff to get the dealer that I bought the Wrangler from to take it back and allow me to put the money that I bought it for towards a different car on the lot. So I got lucky in that regard, but I ended up trading in the Jeep to get a Ford Probe, which was almost the same price as the Jeep I paid for. And the Ford Probe, I don't know, you may not remember those because you don't really see them on the road anymore, but that was basically a Mazda with a Ford logo on it. It was basically the same thing as a Mazda 6, a Mazda 626, just a little bit different body styling, but it was basically a Mazda. It wasn't a Ford, but it had the Ford logo on it. That ended up being like one of the most reliable cars I ever owned. And it served the purpose well of me I had to constantly drive back and forth from Pittsburgh to Rochester, New York, and back and forth 4 times a month, 350 miles each way, 4-hour drive each way. I'd come down on Friday. I'd spend the weekend in Pittsburgh. I'd turn around and go back, work Monday through Friday, turn around, go back to Pittsburgh, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. I put thousands of miles on this car. And I had very few problems with the car the whole time I owned it. A Jeep would have cost 10 times more in gas, and it would have given me nothing but problems. It would have been a nightmare. So if you put it in terms of prayer, if I'm praying to God, like I just spent the whole summer praying for a car, for God to find a way to get a car under. I was not specific. Like if I was being specific, I want another Wrangler. I loved that's a Wrangler or a pickup truck. Either way, they're expensive. If the budget that I had to work with, I wasn't going to get a Wrangler or a pickup truck that would be reliable, but I could probably find a car of some kind that would be more reliable than that. And so I decided to go with a more humble car. That's not the Volkswagen Passat is not the car for me. It's not what I want to drive. But I'm so grateful to have this car. I don't care. It's not a bad car. I mean, yeah, it had a problem, and I'm still kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this car overall. But the longer I go without having a major issue, the better I'm gonna feel about having this car. But either way, I know if I would have bought a Jeep, I'd have been having more problems than that. Um, Granted, I was also looking at some of the old Cherokees, like the mid '90s to early 2000 Cherokees, and those are reliable as hell. That's why they're still around. But they ended up being about 5 grand. They reached a bottom. The bottom of that market hit 5 grand years and years and years ago, and they're still 5 grand for an old Cherokee. Except they got more and more miles on them as the years go on and on and on, and but they're pretty much indestructible. The straight six Chrysler Jeep engines and those things don't die. They're like a old Toyota engine. They won't die. But every time I would see one listed on Facebook Marketplace or wherever I was looking, it would just have too many problems coming with it. Like, I didn't find one that felt like it would be worth my time to go look at compared to the cars that I was finding in the same price range. And so for the amount of miles that it would have and the abuse it would have been put through and all that kind of stuff, it just kind of I did not fixate on a specific car. And I feel like I got a good price on the car I bought as a result of not being fixated on anything specific. Um, I still don't need, time will tell how that worked out. Because I'm still, I still haven't paid off the credit card that I had to dump that car repair onto the last time it broke. So if I can get to the point where that's paid for and then move on, oil changes and basic wear and tear for a while, then okay, fine. But if it needs another major issue taken care of in the next 6 months, I don't know, man. But um, don't just ask for what you want, ask for something that aligns with God's purpose. You might end up better off. And then just surrender the specific outcome and just let God take care of it. Like there's 3 things that I've been getting really specific signs about. And it took a minute because the signs were so loud and clear, but the reality doesn't line up with the signs that I keep seeing. So I finally just got to a point where I've just completely detached from it. And it's not like I don't think about it, but I'm just like, whatever happens is going to happen, and I don't really give a shit anymore because maybe I was reading the signs wrong, whatever. Um, but if God has a purpose, if he wants to do something, I'm going to let him take care of it, because the more I try to meddle, the worse it's going to be for me. So just let it go. Just let it go. Um, and then, persistence is the same. Persistence is kind of like the opposite of that, but don't give up on the things that you're praying for, because sometimes you might give up right before the finish line. It's kind of like, I've used this analogy more than once, but the Tour de France. So when I came out of prison, I hate talking about this all the time, but it just fits. I was in a relationship when I went away, and this girl stood by my side the whole time I was away, like tightly, like making sure I was taken care of and that things, like waiting for the day when I'd come home and we could like start figuring things out. And it was like, I'd be like riding a bicycle in the Tour de France. It's a 3,000-mile bicycle race where you're riding 100 to 150 miles a day for 21, 22 days. And you get to Paris. And on the last day of the race, 5 miles before the finish line, you get mad and throw a temper tantrum about something, throw your fucking bike off the side of the road and go stomping away all mad, and throw your yellow jersey in the trash, and somebody else wins the race because you quit. But if you didn't quit, you would have won the race. All you had to do was cross the finish line. You were so far ahead in the race, you didn't even have to worry about when you crossed the finish line. You just had to cross the finish line today. No, in the race, the yellow jersey, the whole thing was yours. And so, like, it's something that you're praying about for months. You might just finally get pissed off that it wasn't handed to you yet, and you throw your bicycle into the crowd, stomp off to the, stomp away from the race, throw your yellow jersey into a trash can and say, fuck this fucking shit. But you were only like 100, you were only like 2 miles from the finish line in a 3,000-mile race. And all you had to do was cross the line and it was yours. And you were that close and you just tossed it away because you couldn't wait anymore. But you were right there at the end. You were right. It'd be like being 50 feet from the summit of Mount Everest and saying, fuck this shit. I turn around and go back. You know what I mean? Like, happens to people. But you're that close to the finish line and then you just quit right before you were about to hit it. There's a lot of times where that happens to people. And so just because you're not seeing the results right away, it's like me on YouTube right now. I'm shadow banned. I got all these problems. My YouTube channel won't grow. Every now and then I'll post a video and it gets close to 1,000 views. I can't figure out why the walk in the park video, the first time I did the walk in the park and put a video up of me talking, it hit almost 1,000 views. And now every time I do it again, it gets 100 views. Why did that one video shoot up and then the rest of them don't? It's enough to piss me off and to make me not want to do it. I'm glad that you guys show up today. And, we've got a nice little cool little circle of friends here that we all kind of hang out and talk to each other and have a good time. But if I want to make this like a source of income, like YouTube creators try to do, I need that number in the top corner of my window needs to go from 11 viewers on the live stream to like 500 viewers on the live stream. And yeah, it's a different dynamic, and the chat will start to scroll so fast that, nobody will be able to keep up with it, and I won't even be able to read anything anybody says. And there's drawbacks to that and negative things, but I post a video from walking around in the park and it gets, 10,000 views. That's where I have to be at if I want to like have a viable source of revenue here. But it's one of those games where if I just throw in the towel one day and say, fuck it, I'm done because I'm sick and tired of YouTube keeping me down with the shadow ban and the lock, would I be one video away from the one that breaks through and gets 1 million views? If I quit today, would Friday's video from the park be that one that gets 100,000 views or something crazy and unlocks the shadow ban? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's persistence pays off. I've applied to 600 jobs or more since I got out of prison. Can't get a fucking job. I applied to 2 more today. Um, they kind of came at me. They weren't like it wasn't from Team India. It wasn't 2 Indian recruiters. I won't respond to them, but it was 2 Americans that I responded to. Probably never hear back from. If I applied to 699 jobs and I don't get any, and then I quit, would the 700 would the 7 would job application 700 be the one that would have unlocked the ban and got me back on my feet financially? I don't know. So that's kind of what that concept is when it comes to the prayer. That like usually when people give up, it was right before they were about to get whatever they were after. And it's the difference between the people who get to the finish line and the people who don't. Or the difference is the one who didn't give up. I've been in bicycle races where I thought I was doing really bad and I wanted to give up. But then I ended up doing really well because other people gave up. Other people had mechanical problems with their bike, and I ended up passing them. I can think of a mountain bike race when I was in high school that I remember the first climb up the mountain, I got dropped and I felt so horrible. But then I started picking people off on the downhill, and we had to do multiple laps up and down this mountain, like 5 laps up to the top, back down, up to the top, back down all day long. And I just remember picking people off throughout the day. And I ended up winning the age division. So I ended up winning the 18 and younger, the junior division race, because all the other kids that were 18 and younger either quit, crashed out, had a bike failure, mechanical issue, and I ended up winning. And I was probably in last place when I wanted to just throw in the towel. But I was like, fuck it, I'm here. I may as well. I don't even care if I come in last place. And I think at the end of the thing, I think I came in like in the top 20 overall somehow. But on the first lap, I felt like I was in like next to last place. But like tortoise in the hare, and I mean, it's a lot harder to pick people off on the downhill because the gaps, you spend an hour going uphill and 10 minutes going down. So you don't have as much time to, when people get half an hour ahead of you on an uphill and it takes 10 minutes to get to the bottom of the downhill, you're not going to catch the people that were half an hour ahead of you. But when it's like 5 or 6 loops up and down this mountain over the course of a day, things happen. And I swear I remember being like 19th place overall in a sea of like 100 people. But I thought I was doing terrible. And I wanted to quit. I really did. I just wanted to fucking quit. Honestly, the only reason I didn't quit is because my girlfriend at the time, my high school girlfriend, showed up at the race and brought a bunch of her friends with her, and they were sitting at the bottom of the mountain watching me race. And so I wasn't going to just fucking quit and look like a pussy in front of everybody, even though I wasn't having it that day. But then at the end of the race, I ended up getting a trophy. So that made me look really hot. And then there was a downhill race later that day, and I thought I was going to slay it. And on the downhill race, I hit a jump, and it had been raining and the grass was wet. And when I came down on the grass, my front wheel went out in front of me, and I just bit it and flipped over the handlebars and rolled down the hill and slid and was just covered in grass and mud from head to toe. And I got mad and I picked up my bike and threw it and was like, motherfuck, I just picked up my bike and tossed it. I was so mad. And all of them saw me do that. And then they were all laughing and making fun of me for the next week at school. But whatever. But I still got a trophy that day and some prizes and shit because I didn't quit. And if I had quit, because old poor Adam was, felt like he was in last place. It's like that tortoise and the hare. The rabbit got really far ahead, but then got cocky, took a nap, and the turtle passed it. The turtle ended up winning the race. So don't give up. If I'd given, how many times have I felt like giving up since I got out of prison? Fuck, man, I couldn't even count the number of times. I remember saying something this morning under my breath about how certain days feel like I would be better off if I was homeless again. Because I was kind of mad at myself for sleeping all day yesterday and like doing what I had to do to recover my energy. But I woke up this morning feeling real guilty and just tired and just awful about it, and just feeling overwhelmed about all the stuff that didn't get done that's now stacked up on my plate for today and tomorrow. And tomorrow's going to suck. Tomorrow's really going to suck. And the first 5 days of every month suck balls right now. Just with no doubt about it. I absolutely dread between the 1st and the 5th of every fucking month right now. It's just so much crap that sucks. But anyway, I was feeling it this morning, and there are days that I just want to give up. But the gist of the matter is don't. The lesson is don't give up, because you never really know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's been so many times in my life where I'm in a bad way. When I got fired from a remote job where I worked from home because I wouldn't take the COVID shot, I got fired for that, and I was suffering for months and getting really down and pissed off and angry about everything. And this one random day, I get a random email from a recruiter about a job opportunity, which at the end of the day turned into an interview, which at the end of that interview turned into another, and then a job offer for a lot of money. And then like a week or two later, I'm getting paid from that place. When I get my first paycheck from that job, it was like a big wake up call to how, everything just turned on a dime. And if I had just given up and thrown in the towel and just been like, fuck this, I'm not even going to show up to the game anymore, that opportunity wouldn't have come my way, or that opportunity would have showed up in my email box and I would have ignored it and not answered it and just said, oh, it's just another one of these douchebag recruiters, blah, blah, blah. And just, not taking it seriously, and I wouldn't have got the job. And so there's just a lot of times where I used to freelance for a living, 6 years, from 2004 to 2009, 2010. So, like you could say loosely in 2003, but I already had a job, but I started to freelance on top of it. Then I went to freelancing full time and doing nothing else. And then in 2009, I started working at a job again, but by 2010, I had stopped doing freelance completely. So it's about 6 years of mostly freelance. And there would be times where I would have less than $1 in my bank account. No idea how the fuck things were going to work out. And just randomly get a check in the mail the next day. Or some crazy thing would happen. I moved, and the cost of the move was wild. It was way above and beyond what I was expecting it to cost. And so let's say I moved on the 1st of June into a new place, and now it's the 1st of July, and I've got less than 50 bucks in the bank and rent's due today. And not only is rent due today, it's the very first month after I moved in where I've got to go pay rent to the landlord or put it in the mail or give it to her or whatever. So I've only been there a month. What kind of a great first impression is that going to be if I can't pay that bill on time? That's going to be a doozy. But I had like 50 bucks. I had no idea what I was going to do. In fact, about a few days before that, I had gone to, I had called up a company that had a 401k or something from an old job and told them to cash it out and send me a check. It would have been like 3,000 bucks. It would have been enough to pay the rent, but I was going to have to wait like 2 weeks to get that check in the mail. But I cashed it out. I was like, screw it. I need this money. I'll figure out the ramifications after the fact. And so I cashed that out, and because I figured the money, it would just help. And but there was like there was no telling when that money was going to come. So now it's the 1st of July, and I have no idea how I'm going to pay my rent. And it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I get this random phone call from an ex-girlfriend who I haven't talked to in probably 2 years, who used to be a really good friend of mine, but we had a falling out when we broke up, and we didn't talk to each other for like 2 years. So she's randomly calling me on the 1st of July at 10 o'clock in the morning, and she says to me that she's got this freelance job that she's trying to do. She's also a graphic designer. We both went to art school together, and she's working on this project, and she doesn't know how to do some of the work that needs to be done as part of the project. Part of the project was building a website. And she asked me, if you can help me with this project, you'd be saving me from a big jam that I'm in, because right now I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. I can't do this myself. I need help with this part of it. If you can help me with that, she goes, I can come over to your place today with a check for $2,000 as a down payment, and I'll pay you the other half when the project is done and I get paid by my client. And so I'm like, oh, let me check my calendar here and see. Well, yeah, I could probably squeeze you in. Yeah, sounds all right. Yeah, let's do that. So now it's 11 in the morning. My ex-girlfriend, who I haven't talked to for 2 fucking years, shows up with a check for $2,000, hands it to me. We shoot the shit for a little while, talk about the project. She leaves, and it's about noon. And so I'm on my way to the bank to deposit this check so I can run over and pay the rent. It's noon. The landlord calls me, and she's pissed. It's the 1st of the month at noon. And she's like, look, buddy, it's noon here on July 1st, and I haven't seen a check for the rent yet. What's going on? And she's like pissed. And I'm like set back. I'm taken aback. I'm like, that's a little bit fucking crazy. I should at least have until the end of the day to get that in her hands. Here it's noon on July 1st. But I was already on my way to the bank to make that deposit. And I knew that even if I write the bank that I had, I'll deposit that check today. The funds will be available tomorrow morning. I could go write this landlord a check today knowing that she's not going to put it in her bank account till probably tomorrow or another. It's all going to balance out. So I just said, she calls me all angry at noon, like leaving this really shitty message about how pissed off she is that she hasn't gotten a check from me yet. It's noon on the 1st. It's not like it was a day late. Well, so I called her back and I said, "Look, I'll be down there. Sorry, I was, I'm out and about doing my errands today. I planned on stopping by." Which was a total lie. But I was like, I was planning on stopping by and I'll be there at about 1. How's that sound? In fact, I even think I told her I'd be there towards the end of the day because I kind of wanted to make sure that she wouldn't have time to go to the bank before they closed. So I think she had an auto detailing business not too far from where I lived. So I think I came rolling in at like 4:30 in the afternoon to give her the check on the 1st, but knowing that the banks are all going to be closed at 5, so she doesn't have time to, she's going to go put that in her bank account. But I just wanted to pad out as much time to give that deposit that I just made time to clear and be available. But it all worked out. That's the point. 10 o'clock in the morning, I had no idea how I was going to pay my rent. No idea at all. I was nervous about it because I knew I was going to have to call the landlord at some point and say, I need a few more days. And I still didn't know how I was going to pull it off other than waiting for that 401k to show up in the mail, which it didn't show up till the middle of the month. I would have ended up being like 2 weeks late on the rent. Probably she would have already started evicting me. That for as angry as she got, because 11 o'clock, ex-girlfriend comes over with a random check out of nowhere, hands it to me. I'm at the bank at noon getting a phone call from the crazy fucking landlord acting like she was going to evict me today if I didn't pay the rent today, or at least be a huge fucking problem if I didn't pay that bill. But then I paid it, and then I didn't have any problems with the finances the rest of the time I lived in that place. And that landlady, she was the nicest she was super nice to me all the time from that moment forward. She never copped me an attitude again. She had a problem tenant, and it was like a split duplex top bottom situation. And the person that lived in the bottom part, she had 2 different tenants that lived in the bottom half of that duplex that were nothing but trouble. So the fact that I was no problem for her at all, like she treated me like gold. But that first time that rent was due, oh, she was fucking pissed. Probably because she had all these Looney Tunes renting from her. And so she didn't want to deal with me being another one of those. And so that's probably where the anger came from when I hadn't paid her. But it was noon on the 1st. And 2 hours ago, I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent. But by the time she called me, $2,000 had just fallen out of the sky and ended up in my pocket out of absolutely fucking nowhere. That was not on my bingo card that I was ever going to talk to that girl again, let alone do a job with her and, do freelance projects with her and get paid. And the fact that she just randomly said, if you tell me yes, I'll come over right now and give you $2,000, like as a down payment. I was just like, wow, and those are the kinds of things that happen when you trust God. Like how many times I've told this story before. It's not the first time I've told this story on the channel. When I was unemployed because wouldn't take my COVID shot for my work from home job. I had this Mini Cooper that was 20 years old, and I had 2 other vehicles. I figured I could get enough money selling the Mini Cooper to pay rent and my utilities and stuff for 1 more month, maybe 2 more months. I could survive 1 or 2 more months if I would sell that car. I wasn't going to get a lot for it, but I woke up, it was like 7 in the morning. My ex was there. We get out of bed and I looked at her and I said, I'm going to go sell that car. I'm going to go take the car. There was snow up to our knees in the driveway. I was going to have to, but the weather report said by within a few days, all the snow was going to melt and it was going to be a couple of 70-degree days, March. And so I was like, I'm going to take that car down to the car wash, detail it, clean it out, get all my stuff out of it, take pictures of it, put it up for sale. If I can sell, that shouldn't be too hard of a car to sell, especially, if I put it for enough, a low enough price. I said, I'm just going to go sell that car. I don't need 3 vehicles. So she left, went to work she left at like 7:30. I think I went back to sleep, got up at 8:30, was mulling around upstairs. I was unemployed, so I didn't have anything to do. I was upstairs. I was grabbing my morning coffee. There's a knock on the door, and I go to the door, and it's the guy who mows my lawn. And I'm thinking, maybe he just, I figured he's just lining up his customers for the spring. Like he's out and about. He knows the weather's coming the weather's about to change. And he's probably just making sure that all of his lawn care customers want him to come do the lawn for the summer. Of which I was like, yes, he gave me a really good price and he was a really awesome guy. He did a lot of good things. Not just taking care of the lawn, but he did other things too. And for the amount of work that he did and what he charged, he was great. But anyway, I opened the door and he's like, hey, I was just happened to be in the neighborhood and I just wanted to stop by and see if you wanted to sell that Mini Cooper. I'm thinking, holy fuck. So of course I look at, I'm like, well, I like that car. I don't know, man. I just wasn't, I really didn't want to get rid of that car. I wanted to keep it for, a couple more years, but I don't know. I guess, what are you thinking? And I just said I was going to sell the car 2 hours ago and it's 9:00 and this dude just knocking on my door. So we came to an agreement on the price and I drove the car into town and came back home. Like I ran some errands with the car just to make sure everything was kosher. I barely had enough time to get all my stuff out of the car. And he was back at my house with all the cash, $4,000 cash. And he wanted to hurry up and go down to the notary before they close and do all the title transfer paperwork. And here I am. So I just told my ex, my girlfriend at the time, that 7 in the morning, I think I'm going to sell the car today. At like 3 in the afternoon, I have $4,000 cash laid out on the dining room table. And I was like, look what I found today. And she's like, what the fuck did you do? I was like, I sold the car. And then when I told her the story, she was like, get the fuck out of here. Literally, I put it out in the universe. I need to sell this car. And 2 hours later, the buyer showed up without me having to do literally nothing. He barely gave me enough time to get my stuff out of the car, let alone like I didn't have to clean it, go to the car wash, detail it. I didn't have to do anything that I was going to do. I didn't have to take any pictures, put up an ad on different places. It just sold itself. And so those are 2 random stories that I like to use of just don't worry. Like, don't worry. Like, these are the things I have to remember whenever I get all worried about something. How many times have I been worried about some shit and then God just randomly shows up and goes, poop, there you go. Problem solved. How I got, most of you know the story about how I ended up getting the car that I have right now. that a random check just showed up in the mail one day for 8 grand from an account I never even knew I had. And, the long story short on that was when I was in jail, before I went to jail, I was trying to get my unemployment claim handled from when I got fired for not taking the COVID shot. And Pennsylvania denied my unemployment claim like 3 times. And they told me I had to file an appeal. And I had a court hearing for the appeal, but I was in jail. I couldn't go to the hearing. And so just like, fuck it, I guess I lost that one. So I didn't go to turns out I won. Even though I didn't go to the hearing, they still ruled it in my favor and gave me the money. And they put a lump sum of money in an account of the money that they owed me for the unemployment claim in a lump sum payment. And then it sat for 3 years without me knowing that he was even there collecting interest for 3 years. So it collected a whole bunch of interest over that time, which, wasn't a lot, but there was, 3 years worth. And so I got this letter in the mail saying you have 10 days to claim these funds or we're going to send them back to the state. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't even know what the hell it was at first. And I had to go digging through paperwork that I had until I put 2 and 2 together and figured out what happened. And so I get this random check in the mail and I was able to go out and buy a car. And then right after that, I ended up winning a contest on Strava where they had this thing. If you fill out a form and you can be entered to win a free camera, Insta360 action cam, 4K 60 frame per second video camera. And here it is with a detachable little action cam. It's like a GoPro. Basically, it's the same form factor as a GoPro, but it's got other features and stuff. 270,000 people entered this contest. So I get this random email from China one day saying, "Hey, you win camera. You send us your address. We send you a camera." And I'm thinking it's a fucking scammer. But then I dug into it deeper and I'm like, this seems like it might actually be legit. And it turned out to be totally legit. I was one of 10 people who won a camera, a $500 camera from a contest that 270,000 people entered. And I still haven't even used the camera, sad to say. But it's on my list. It's definitely, I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I'm just kind of waiting until daylight savings time flips and the sunrise when I can start going to this bakery on my bicycle without having to ride in the dark. I'm going to be using that camera to film that stuff and probably some other cool stuff. But that's what I'm going to break in the camera with, is going on some of these bike rides and filming it and putting it on my YouTube channel. And I have 3 other GoPro cameras that are old, but they're 1080p, and I don't do 4K video on the channel as it is right now, so it don't matter. Those are 30 frame per second, 1080p. They don't have image stabilization, so the video is kind of crappy. But I can put one on my helmet, one rear facing, and then this nice one on my chest facing the front. Combined, I have all kinds of footage to mix together. Plus, I've got a nice new microphone that if you watched last week's walk in the park video, the audio quality was nice. The audio quality was the best outdoor phone camera video I've ever shot in terms of audio quality, because that microphone is the shit. That thing is and that's not even the best quality sound that microphone is capable of. But it worked great for that video last week. I had no issues except for one small glitch that I'll just have to pay attention to from now on. If no big deal though, it didn't. The audio quality, the wind, even with the breeze and stuff, that the wind screen on that microphone is so good I can take it on bicycle rides and you'll be able to hear me crystal clear and you won't hear the wind. Um so I don't know, all these random things are coming together and it's just all these miracles that God keeps throwing at me. Like, what reason do I have to doubt anything that he's telling me and anything that he's doing in my life right now? And that, the things I pray for are impossible for him to do when I've got example after example of things that he does. And I can go all the way back to when I was like 20 years old and I can just list them out. The stories, there's so many stories of things just like that where randomly, um, I got stories about things that have happened to other people that have been shared with me that go along with that. So it's kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it, but those are the things that I tend to think about whenever I'm like in that doubtful mindset. And I'm definitely going in and out of that lately, the doubt, about a lot of different things that God keeps telling me. In fact, some of that doubt has gotten to the point where I have not thrown in the towel on the things that he's talking about and like given up, but I've changed my mindset from anticipating it and wondering why it hasn't happened to just being like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. If it doesn't happen, then I must have read the signs wrong or whatever, even though I can't really imagine. The signs were so clear and so specific that I don't know how they were. That maybe Satan sent me the signs instead of God and it tricked me into believing it was God. That'd be the only explanation, because they were way too specific to be like misinterpreted. You can't misinterpret it when it's like down to names and exact things. Um very that wasn't misinterpretable. They were too crystal clear. But whatever, it doesn't mean anything at this point. Um maybe there's just something there that, or that there, maybe I didn't misinterpret the signs, but the purpose behind them or what I'm supposed to get from this or whatever I thought was supposed to happen, maybe I misinterpreted that. I don't know. But I'm at the point I just don't care right now. I'm moving on and I'm just going to do what I got to do, and so be it. So be it. But I'm still open to it. I just can't. It's kind of like when my car broke down back in September and I was just like banging my head against a brick wall trying to fix this thing. And now it's the middle of October. It's a month later. It's October. The car's still not fixed. And I still can't figure out what's wrong. And now it's the middle of November and I still can't figure out what's wrong. And it's still broken and it's getting worse. And now it's the middle of December and I still don't know what's wrong. And I'm getting screwed around by auto garages. And it's just like this whole thing was a nightmare. And I swear to God, there came a day where I finally was just like, fuck it. I don't fucking care anymore. Like, I just did not care anymore. Like, not that I was saying it out loud, but I truly, honestly, I went from having this like fear about what this meant or what problems this was gonna cause me. I just got this car and it's a lemon and blah 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 and all the just like, what does this mean for my immediate future? Like all those kinds of concerns and the things that were getting me mad. This one day I just was like, fuck it, I don't fucking care anymore. Fuck it. I don't care if I have to throw away that fucking car and call it a mulligan and just start from scratch and go back to riding my bicycle everywhere. I don't fucking care. And I was mad, but I truly didn't care anymore. 2 days after I got to the point where I truly just didn't care anymore where I just let go of it and just said, whatever will be, will be. I wasn't happy about it, but I didn't care about it anymore. I truly just did not care anymore. Boom, the car got fixed and it's been fine ever since. But it took 3 months of screwing around and being all uptight and worried and trying to figure out what's going on and obsessing about this car and just being obsessed with it day after day, obsessed with it and annoyed and worried and all the things that it was actually keeping me from getting my job done in some ways. And it was getting in the way, like the worries, fears, anger, irritation. I don't know what other words to use, but all the different things wrapped up around that car issue. And the fact that it was 3 months long and getting worse and worse and worse. My mindset was getting worse and worse and worse about it. But finally I just went, I was like, I don't fucking care anymore. And anger, yes, but I truly I didn't care anymore. If the car was a lemon and I had to sell it for $200 or whatever for scrap and start over and find another way to get another car, I'll figure it out. Like, I truly just didn't care anymore. And then, and like I said, 2 days later, it was fixed and no problem since. And I'm like, that's great. And so, like, there's things like that when you're all uptight and worried and over analyzing and going through every scenario in your mind and trying to figure out what is going on and why isn't this happening and why is this and why isn't that, and just constantly thinking about it and not letting it go. Sometimes, as soon as you finally reach the point where you just don't care anymore, like, you're just like, I'm sick of this, forget it, just stop thinking about it, I don't care anymore. Boom, all of a sudden something happens. Like, it's something just snaps into place. A lot of those stories that I told you about, the miracle stories, I was worried about how I would pay rent that day, but I was like, I finally, that day when my ex came over with a $2,000 check out of nowhere, I had reached the point that day where whatever happens, happens. Fuck it. There's nothing I can do about it. Spending all day worrying about it is not going to change anything today. That was the mindset that I hit. I was worried about it up to that day because I knew I was short. About midway through June, I was like, oh crap, this move was expensive. And I blew through. I would have, I just hit this, like, oh my God, money was flying out of my bank account so fast after the move. Because moving's not cheap. Moving into this place was expensive. It was way more expensive than I anticipated. I had issues. It always is. You just have to plan. You have to expect that. Moving always sucks, and it's always more expensive than you think it's going to be. You can plan and plan and plan, and it's always going to be twice as much as you planned. Always. And it is what it is. So, but when the first came and I knew I couldn't pay, I'm like, well, nothing I can fucking do about it. So fuck it. I don't care anymore. If I end up homeless, fuck it. I'll figure it out you know what I mean? If I get evicted, well, I guess I'll find out how eviction works, because I've never had that happen before. I guess I'll learn something new. I just didn't care anymore. And then boom, I get a random phone call from a random ex-girlfriend I haven't talked to in 2 years, coming over with a $2,000 check out of the blue. And 2 hours later, I can pay my rent when the landlord's calling me screaming and yelling about where's the check. So this is what I have to remember on days like today. Today was one of those days when I woke up. I'm in a different mindset right now. And way before I got on the live stream, I accomplished some things today that I felt good about. And so that snapped me out of the mindset. But I was in a funk this morning. I was in a really like, not a good mental place today. But instead of dwelling on that and living in that, I was like, Adam, you just gotta like stop giving a shit. Just go do what you get. Just go do something. Here's a whole list of things that you have to work on. Pick something. I got that first thing done. That only took an hour. Didn't even take, took maybe an hour. In fact, and then I picked up another thing that I didn't want to do. That took about half an hour. Boom. Now two things are out of the way. Now I actually didn't know what to do now because I was kind of caught up with everything I was supposed to do today. So I picked another thing up off the list. Didn't think I would actually get it done. Got it done 10 minutes before 5. Then I had to sit in a Zoom meeting for about 45 minutes. And then I had to turn on my lights and camera and like, this stuff and sit here and do the stream with you guys. So and then when I get done with this, I'm going to take a bath. Fuck it. Because once again, I don't give a shit. And tomorrow I got the same thing. I got a whole bunch of shit I got to do that I don't want to do, that I don't know how I'm going to get it done. But I have to get it done by 3 because that's when I have to get ready to go to the gym tomorrow. And I'm not skipping the gym tomorrow. No way. I'm not. I already skipped it once. But even if I skipped Tuesday's gym, that still gives me Monday, Thursday, Friday, solid hardcore workouts. So I'm still going to get the 3 workouts in for the week. And so I skipped a day. Fine. It's not going to. Sometimes the recovery day does more for you than the workout would have done if you had gone. Sometimes your body needs to rest and recover. The Olympic athletes, they don't go balls to the wall every single day that they train. In fact, the closer they get to the Olympics, the more that they just don't. Because they need their body to be healed and they need all their energy for the Olympics, or that we just had those Olympics, right? I really didn't watch it. I don't really. The Winter Olympics are just nothing but a bunch of rich assholes giving each other trophies. It's not like when you have like the world championship runner, I can respect that because every kid, as long as you got 2 legs and they work, every single kid who's ever born in whatever country you're from has a chance to be the fastest runner in the world. You have a chance. I had a chance. You had a chance if your legs work. We all ran. We all got to run. Believe me, if you could run really fast, someone's going to be like, I'm going to put you in a race if you want to do it. And then if you win those races, you will end up at the Olympics if you're fast and you want to do it. Runner, if you run, everybody has a chance when it comes to running. Soccer's not too far away from running. You need a ball and some cleats. You need shoes to be a runner too. So, but like Pele, and I talked about this in last week's video, but if you didn't watch it, we're going to talk about it again. Pele and his kids from his neighborhood, they grew up in the fucking ghetto, dirt poor. They had to learn. They played soccer barefoot. They didn't have enough money to buy shoes. They probably didn't even have a fucking soccer ball. They're just running around. They probably had to cut the head off of a fucking goat or something and running around the neighborhood kicking a goat head with their bare feet with a couple of cardboard boxes at either end of the fucking alley in the ghetto to be the goal. So it was so bad that like the neighborhood was like, hey, these kids can play. Look at that. That kid can kick a goat head 50 yards. So they got the kid, the neighborhood all got together and bought the kids a soccer ball, saw that they could play, got them on a team and bought them all some shoes. And when these kids started playing soccer against other teams, they couldn't play Well, why? Because they'd never played soccer with shoes on their feet before, so they didn't know it fucked them up because they were used to playing barefoot. But it's a lot different playing barefoot, running around the ghetto, kicking a goat head with your bare feet than kicking a soccer ball with a pair of cleats on. So they had to take half of the fucking season just to learn how to play soccer again. But here goes Pele, goes from kicking a goat head with his bare feet through a cardboard box in an alley in the ghetto to being the world champion soccer player and the best soccer player in the world. I can respect that. You are actually the world champion. Every kid with 2 feet and 2 legs that can kick a ball has a chance to be a world champion soccer player. You do. I'm sorry, but every kid has that chance. Or, it's not that difficult to get on a soccer team when you're a kid and go from there and work your way up the ranks and whatnot. You have a chance to do it. But when I see one of these assholes in the Olympics get a gold medal for the fucking bobsled, or what the fuck what does that mean when you get the gold medal for a bobsled? It means you're the best rich dickhead that got bobsleds for Christmas when you were 12 years old out of the other 15 people in the world that got to ride a fucking bobsled when they were kids. Like, there's like 10 bobsled tracks in the whole fucking world. And how many of you watching this video got to go on a bobsled at some point in your life, going down a fucking ice-covered tube in the mountains, flying around at 100 miles an hour on a fancy sled? How the fuck do you even get to be a bobsledder or a ski jumper? Like, a ski jumper, skiing's expensive to begin with, but to be able to go ski jumping off of one of those big giant fucking ramps and launching yourself, 900 feet in the fucking air and shit, like, skiing itself is expensive. Like Lindsey Vonn and Bodie Miller or whatever, they're just a bunch of rich dickheads. Their parents, like Bodie Miller, Lindsey Vonn, all these gold medal skiers, they're just rich assholes. Their parents were fucking rich. Doctors, lawyers, wealthy enough that they had to move the whole family to Vail, Colorado to live in Vail, Colorado in a multi-million-dollar mansion on the fucking ski slopes so that they could spend $50,000 to $100,000 a year letting their kids ski on the mountain. That's how much it costs to put the kids through the skiing program to get them good enough to be in the Olympics someday. $50,000 to $100,000 a year after you move the family to Vail to live on the fucking ski slopes in the ski chalet or whatever the fuck you do. Like, that's what they had to do so those kids could be skiers. Now, I'm not trying to discount the athleticism that goes into that. These kids can't help who their parents were. But that's really not a big accomplishment when you're just the fastest rich asshole out of the 30 rich assholes whose parents could pay 100 large every year to get them in the ski school. And the bobsled, fuck. There's I'm telling you, how many fucking kids growing up got to try a bobsled even once? I don't know anybody who's ever been on a bobsled. I don't know anybody who's ever known anybody who's ever been on a bobsled before. How do you even get to fucking do that? How do you even get to try the bobsled to see if you're any good at it? You have to be a rich dickhead just to have one bobsled ride to see if you can ride a bobsled, let alone be the best one. So by the time you're in the Olympics, there's 10 people in the bobsled competition, and they're all these rich dickheads that got a bobsled for Christmas when they were 16. And you're the best one out of the 16. Ooh, boo, fuck, great. Yeah, good job, asshole. You got the fucking trophy for that, I guess. It's not the same as being you could be from some dirt poor tribe in Africa chasing zebras around with a fucking spear, and if you don't get one, your family doesn't eat this week. That's good training for track and field. because they actually have the 100-yard dash, the mile fucking run. They even got the fucking javelin where you throw a fucking spear as far as you can go. So, having to kill a fucking zebra with a spear that you chased across the Serengeti to get a shot at, that gives you a leg up on anybody. So you could actually be the world champion track and fielder, being a dirt poor fucking tribesman in Africa who just 2 weeks ago chased down a gazelle and speared it and carried it home over your fucking shoulder so your village could eat. Like, you're that dirt poor and broke, you could still be the world champion. There's no fucking chance in hell that dude's going to be a bobsledder and be the gold medal at bobsledding. He has no chance. There's no, how the fuck is he ever going to get a chance to do that? So I don't have any respect for these rich douchebag sports where big fucking deal. You're the best one out of the 10 kids that got to even try it. But I would win I would get the gold medal in bobsled if I've never been on a bobsled before and you sent me to the Olympics. You wouldn't even have to tell me how to drive the fucking thing. You know why? Because I have no fucking fear. I have nothing to lose. So I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to let the thing go as fast as it'll go. I'm not even going to try and slow it down. If I die, big fucking deal. I got nothing. Like, who cares? I got nothing to lose. I just got done with being homeless. I live in a tiny little shack. I applied to 600 jobs. I can't even get one. The guy who actually won the gold medal at the bobsled, he's rich. He's going to go hunt. If he got last place at the Olympics instead of the gold medal, he's going to go home to a mansion somewhere with a couple of Ferraris and a whole bunch of pussy weed and fucking blow and big screen TVs and all the other shit that you would have if you have enough money to drive a fucking bobsled. Then you're going home to some shit. You got something to lose. You got a reason to live. So that's going to be a reason to go slow on the turns as you're going down that fucking track. They go like 100 miles an hour. I'm going to get in that fucking bobsled and just be like, let's go, bitch. Boom. I'm going to go. I don't even know what fucking cable you pull for the brake. I don't give a shit. I don't need to know. I'm not going to try and stop. I'm just going to go fast. If I die, oh, well, it's better than dying of cancer. It'll make a good video for YouTube. Like, I'll go more viral on my gold medal bobsled run, winning the gold medal, even though I died. All these people, you think 100 miles an hour. I just went 150 because I gave no fucks and had nothing to lose. I got nothing to come home to, so fuck it. May as well. I'd win the bobsled just because of not having any fear and not giving a shit if I die or not. That would be enough right there to probably win. Like, I mean, what else? I mean, seriously, like, how do you even drive that fucking thing? You just fly down this fucking track and try not to flip over the side. So, I mean, you get a couple of practice runs so I could get the feel of it and whatnot. Maybe start out a little bit slow, just, come in as the sleeper. But when it comes to the actual run, fuck it, dude. I got no fucks to give. I'm going to let it rip. I swear, the Jamaican bobsled team, they did pretty bad. But they still had something to come home to. I don't. So that right there would give me the advantage over everybody else in the field. I don't even know. Like, but I have no, like, how do you even get to try a bobsled? Is there like a place you can go to, like, how much does it cost to ride a fucking bobsled once or twice just to say you did it? Like, nobody even knows how to do it. Like, I would have an easier time getting tickets to the fucking Super Bowl than figuring out how to be able to ride a bobsled. Like, I want to go bobsledding. How the fuck do you do that? I don't fucking know. Where do you go? I don't know. It's like 2 tracks in the United States, probably. How do you do it? Well, I don't like, do you just show up and get a bobsled ticket and like, here's a fucking helmet, here's a sled, motherfucker, good luck. Like, how does it work? How do you even get to try that out for fun? Like to just try. It's not like going to get like you can go ice skating if you don't have a pair of ice skates. Well, here's a rental. You don't know how to ski. You can go to the ski slopes. Here you go, piece of shit. Here's a couple of shitty skis. I mean, the rental skis really aren't that bad. Um, the boots are kind of crummy, but you can go learn how to ski without having to buy stuff. They'll here you go. Here's a rental. Try it out. See if you like it. Do you get like a rental bobsled? Like how the fuck does that work? How do you have to wait in line? Does like how do you fucking how does that shit work? How do you do bobsled? How do you try out a bobsled to see if you like doing it, to see if you're any good at it? I don't know anybody who knows how to do like I don't know anybody who knows anybody who knows anybody who would know what to do to even get into that sport. Yet they have people getting gold medals and shit. Like some rich asshole beat the other 10 rich assholes. Ooh, you got a trophy. Good for you. Skiing and skating. But even I don't know. I knew an Olympic figure skater. He got 28th place. He was from Slovenia. And he was in the Olympics that they had in France, Albertville, I think. He got 28th place or some shit. Talking about the fucking skates. It's like thousands of dollars for a pair of figure skates. I think he was in a pair. I think he was a pairs skater. I think he skated with like a female, where you have to hold her up by the pussy or whatever and hold her up in the air and carry her and do her flips and stuff with her. I don't think he skated by himself. I can't even remember all the details. I just remember him. He talked about it a lot, but I just remember him telling me how expensive the figure skates were, and it's pretty wild. In fact, there's a YouTube video out somewhere that I saw in my feed, probably because they heard me talking about it. It was a professional figure skater from the Olympics or whatever, trying to skate with rental skates on their feet at the ice rink, and motherfucker could barely, like he looked like a person trying to ice skate for the very first time. But you can try it. You can go out and try to learn how to skate. You can go out and you can, cycling is a pretty expensive sport, but it's not too expensive to get a bicycle when you're a kid to some extent and at least try it out. It's definitely not as accessible as like track and field or soccer, but you can get a crappy BMX bike and race around with your friends around the neighborhood. You can figure out if you're good at riding a bike or not and go from there on the cheap when you're a kid. But it's I mean, running is more accessible. Soccer is cheaper than bicycling. But I had a piece of shit Huffy bicycle when I was a kid until I was like 15 years old and bought my first road racing bike, my first real bicycle of any quality. And I figured out that I was pretty good at it before I spent the money on a good bike. And when I got the good bike, I was like, holy shit, I can actually compete a little bit. But I wasn't fast enough for the Olympics. I wasn't fast enough to go to the Tour de France or anything like that. That takes a whole nother level of dedication. And that's, I knew enough, and it had nothing to do with like how early in life I started. There's just sometimes your body is just not built the same as other people's bodies, and they're just faster than you by nature. But I had a chance to try it out, and it, I mean, I've got 2 bicycles I'm looking at right now. I could go for a bike ride anytime I want. With the gym workouts and everything that I've been doing lately, when I did ride my bike on Monday, I was 2 miles an hour faster. My overall speed, my average speed is up 2 miles an hour from what it was last year on average. Like, I wasn't even trying that hard, and every time I looked down at my average speed, it was 2 miles an hour faster than what it usually is when I'm putting the same amount of effort into the bike ride, and I'm, like, looking at the amount of effort that I'm putting in because I can see my heart rate. So, on the ride, looking at my heart rate, looking at what zone I'm basically sticking to today, I would know that, like, my average speed was 2 miles an hour faster for the same amount of effort that I was putting in 6 months ago on a lazy ride. Now, if I bumped up my level of effort to a, zone 3 or 4, like 4 or 5, where I'm pushing myself 160 to 180 beats per minute versus like the 140 to 150, I probably could have been 5 to 6 miles an hour faster than my average. And over the last couple of times I rode my bicycle to and from the bakery, I broke personal records on the route. One of the records that I broke, a shorter one, it's a short little hill climb. I am in 115th place out of like 8,000 people or something. I can actually look. I took a screenshot of this so that I would know for sure. What am I? Hold on. What? Okay. Okay. Little bit off. 117th place out of 1,753 people who have rode that part of the ride that I take. 117th out of 1,753 people on that same part of my ride to the bakery. I did it in 47 seconds. And the first place person, I got to look. I didn't take a screenshot of what the first place time was. But let's take a look here because I can find it. It's the, morning ride right here. Scroll down. It was this one. All right. So the first place, 34 seconds. I'm doing it in 47 seconds. So I'm like 13 seconds. I'm at 13 seconds away from first place on a stretch. But you're talking about a stretch that's less than a minute long. So that's the difference in speed, 21.3 for me, 29.5 for first place. So to get up that extra 8 miles an hour is a lot of effort for that part of the ride that I'm not there. On some of the longer stretches where I got some personal records, stretches that are segments that are like 20 minutes long, I'm in like the top 50% on those segments. But the people at the top are so far ahead of me and so much faster. I wouldn't even be able to do it on the bicycles that I have. And I'd have to wear tight spandex cycling clothes with an aerodynamic helmet and like I'd have to have the bike for that because the wind and the aero resistance and having a backpack on and baggy shorts that catch the wind versus, spandex and I'd have to dress the part if I actually wanted to throw down those kind of speeds and have the bike. I may not have to have a $20,000 bicycle, but I'd have to have a racing bike built for that speed. The right tires, everything. But it's not too bad. It's not too shabby that I'm hitting these speeds with a bicycle that was made in 1990. So, imagine if I'm doing that on a bicycle that's 30 years old that wasn't even built to go those speeds. Imagine what I could do if I got the right bicycle under me. So it's fun. It's a cool thing to see the progression of. And one of the things that I'm seeing the signs of, or that God keeps telling me, is that I am going to get in good enough shape to compete again because it is something like I would like to do. It's something I would like to be able to enter a bicycle race, and even if I don't win, I'd like to be able to have a chance. Maybe I could beat the old people division, like they call it the masters division or whatever, the 50 and older crowd. Well, I just turned 50, so I'm like the youngest old guy on the block. Maybe I can put some of these 70-year-old crippleds in their place. Who do you think you are, you crippled old man? Come on, Joe Biden. Get back on your bike. Joe Biden, he can't even fucking ride his bike without falling off. That's who I'd be racing against, but I'd beat him. I'd beat him. The Woodlands Douchebag Classic is coming up. Maybe I can get in shape to do something about that. Could be fun. But there's a velodrome, there's a bicycle racing track here in Houston. I would love to picking up a track bike on Facebook Marketplace that fits me would probably be pretty easy, especially since there's a cycling track here. A track bike is about if I want to get into the game to where I need a high-end bike to compete, a track bike really isn't that complicated and super expensive because there's a lot of parts that you don't have gears. There's a lot of parts on a track bike that you don't have brakes and you don't have gears. It's one gear, no brakes, fixed. You stop by slowing down your pedaling speed or locking the back wheel into a skid. Or you just crash. But when you watch the Olympic cycling on tracks, they don't have gears, they don't have brakes on those bikes. It's one gear. It's based on whatever you can push, however strong. Like your strength is what determines what gear you ride with on a track. But I can name all the parts of the bike on two hands. If I built the bike from the frame up, it still wouldn't even be even if I bought parts one at a time, it wouldn't be super expensive to build a track bike from the frame up. But I see them on Facebook all the time. That might be fun. Like that could be, drive to the bicycle track and woo, 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 and go. Man, they probably have old people night to where you can race against the other olds. And maybe I can get a trophy for beating a bunch of crippled old people that should be in a nursing home. Probably not going to beat the young kids, but it still could be fun. And I don't know. I've never done track racing before. I've done every other kind of bike racing there is, probably, except for that. And BMX. And that's the BMX is not that I'm way past that age. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's like 20 after 3 hours and 20 minutes in. So I know some of you have been around since the first minute of today's video. And before I leave, I'll just say that if you made it this far or you're watching the replay, I hate doing the plugs. I always forget, but I'll give you one plug. If you go to the link at the top of the chat, links.litgood.com, it's the portal that anything you want to know what I'm up to, you want to follow me on some other platform or whatever, you want to take a look at my Instagram that I haven't updated in fucking forever, you want to follow my photography and check that out, you can go there. Maybe I'll start doing that again. Maybe I'll start putting some stuff there. I don't know. X, I'm a little burned out from X right now. I've had to block or silence or mute half of the people on X because I can't stand the MAGA cult. I'm over it. X brings out the worst in me. X, if I'm going to get in trouble for saying something I'm not supposed to on social media and draw the attention of the government, that's where it's going to happen. It's not going to happen on YouTube. It's whatever. I'm going to slip up and say something bad on X. because I get angry when I'm on there. Right now, X and LinkedIn are about the same in terms of my tolerance, in terms of how long I can stay on it before I got to shut the window and go away. With the Iran war, all the cheerleaders for the war, all the people who are like, bomb them, fuck them, drop the bombs, fuck them all. Like, I'm just like, block, mute, block, mute, block. Like, I've had to do that for 3 fucking weeks, and now my feed is starting to become tolerable when I go to the my following feed. Like, now I'm starting to see people I like posting stuff, and I'm not really seeing all these fucking douchebags. And so it's getting a little more tolerable, but I'm closing in on 400 followers on X, and I'm not even really trying. If I put some effort into it, I'd be into the thousands by now. But Donald Trump is pissing me off. Like, I hate him just as much as I hate Biden and the rest of them. I'm so sick of Donald Trump right now. I can't stand. I may as well dye my hair blue, put on a yellow coat, and go sit in the middle of the road going, like the meme, because I'm there. I can't fucking stand him. I'm so sick of him and his bullshit that I just can't stand. X is just, it's too much of a Donald Trump pep rally. I can't stand it. I'm over it. It was funny for a while, but then broken promises and stabbing America in the back and turning his back on everybody and breaking every promise that he made and filling up the swamp with more water and alligators and snakes and fucking snails and stink ass swamp water, and just like he's going back against everything he said he would do. And he's doing everything he said he wouldn't do, and he's not doing anything he said he would do. And he's also, making sure child molesters don't have to go to jail, and he's doing whatever it takes to protect them. And I'm just like, fuck it, dude. I can't support this guy. I can't say a nice thing about him now. So there goes, obviously I'm not getting a pardon. Like some people are like, oh, maybe Donald Trump will give you a pardon. If I met that motherfucker face to face, he certainly wouldn't be giving me a pardon. I'd probably be going back to prison if I ever met him in person again and said whatever was on my mind that day. The Secret Service probably wouldn't appreciate it. They wouldn't let me get anywhere near him anyway because of my past. But regardless, let's just say that doesn't need to happen. Done with all. Anybody in that federal government can go eat a dick as far as I care, because they're all scumbags. They're all worthless. All of them. But anyway, there's the plugs. America can go eat a dick. Give me the thumbs up, ring the bell, all that shit. And I guess I'm just going to leave it at that tonight. If you want to stop by again on Sunday, you got to be an awesome channel member. $2 get you in the door. Shit, man, that's less than the cover charge at the bar with the crappy DJ. You're going to have to bring your own beer. But other than that, we're going to be sitting around the campfire. Whatever happens in the live stream on Sunday at the members only live stream stays in the members only live stream, because Las Vegas rules apply. And with that, I don't know. I got to go take a bath and chill. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's been fun. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but between now and then, you'll see a cool thumbnail show up. You could bookmark that. We'll be back at it again, same time next week. All right, man. Let's see. Here we go. Peace out.